Uh, so hello everyone. Um, yeah, so I've been wrestling. Sorry for the late start. I literally went to start the stream, clicked on stuff, and OBS was like, "What? What do you want to stream? What is the streaming thing you're talking about? I don't like streaming." Um, Pretty much. I got some weird error that said unable to open NEC encoder, I believe. Oh, codec, sorry. Check your check that your drivers are updated. So I sit there and I'm like, let me check if my drivers are updated. And went over that, couldn't find anything wrong, and I was just like, okay, what the hell do I do? So I saw a random video, and the random video was like, what is it? The random video was like, oh, change the encoder to software. Let me see if I can. Yeah, so I go into settings, I go into output, and I change the encoder to software. I recognize the encoder, what, X2 264. And I changed that, and then the stream actually opened. So hooray for me. Um yeah. Craziness. Craziness. I'm not used to this OBS thing, and I was messing around with my stream, or with my video drivers, I think yesterday, because for whatever reason, whenever I try to whenever I try to play a video, it the colors are distorted. So I figured that was a either when I looked it up, it said it was a codec issue. Um, or sorry, it said it was a driver issue, so I started messing with my drivers, which I probably shouldn't have done. But yeah, at least we're up and running again. Actually, let me mess with this a little bit. Let me go delete the posts about having problems. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? But yeah, at least we're up and running. Um, you know, you learn. I mean, I'm running on Ubuntu, so, or I'm running on Linux, so like you look at Linux wrong and things blow up, and you have to deal with it, and you get better once you learn to deal with things like this, and it's fine. It's fine. It's a learning process. So I went and just deleted all of that, so just in case. All right. Proper intro time. For everybody, I mean, for people who see this or people who are here, I'm ChadRStewart. I am a software engineer from Kingston, Jamaica. I um I like long walks. And I like candlelight dinners. All right, yeah, no, I'm a software engineer from Kingston, Jamaica. Mostly do front end engineering, but I'm doing back end engineering. I want to actually, let me close all of this. Do back end engineering right now. So I'm working on my back end engineering skills. Let me actually make sure that the title is right. I know I changed it back. Basics of, yeah, this is fine. Working on my backend engineering skills. So the last stream was not backend engineering. The last stream was, I had a viewer, Matt Foley, who comes in regularly, and he had a question about React, and we went about use state, use memo, and use, what was it? Use state, use memo, and use reducer. And so we went on a bit of a quest to find out what the differences were and when to use them. And I think that went pretty well. But yeah, So we're back onto the back end grind. Um, Quick note: this is a new machine and this is a new haircut. So no, I don't look like, as Jamaicans would call it, we don't look like a ragamuffin. I actually look presentable. Um, but yeah, so this is a new machine. Which is why I had the problems that I had. Well, that's not the reason why I had the problems that I had, but it's a new machine. Man, I have like the highlights. I'm going to lower. I have like a little curtain here, so I'm going to lower it. I'm using natural light. You know, do what we can. But yeah, this is a new machine. So I actually had to reinstall MySQL Workbench and just reinstall MySQL and all of that. So a few of the things that I had set up before aren't there, which is like the tables that I had. Um, I to be honest, it wasn't that much. And what we are going to do today is learn about table normalization, which will require me. What I'm hoping by the end of the stream is that we have tables built. Um, yeah, by the end of the stream, I'm hoping we have tables built, so it shouldn't matter too much. I have MySQL Workbench set up to where I have the users, where I have users and set up for pretty much everything. The only thing I don't have set up is I have the Microsoft, oh sorry, I have the To Do app user setup, but they don't have privileges because there's no tables to give them privileges on. So I'm go you know hopefully, I mean that's not too much of a problem. I hopefully have, well, I have the root, and I think I made a proper name for my a proper user for myself, and hopefully that has all the privileges to be able to mess with that, so we can actually do it in Workbench as opposed to me going into the command line and going into root. So but yeah, that's pretty much it. We will get started. I think it will be. I was really supposed to do a bunch of reading. Let me explain. So today's Tuesday. Generally the schedule is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yesterday, I had some issues come up, some personal issues, and I, I just, it kind of put me in a really poor. It wasn't great, so um, I decided to forego streaming because it just wouldn't have been a great experience for everybody. I didn't want to stream and be like play. So yeah, so forgoed streaming, and I'm trying to make it up today. Excuse me. Trying to make it up today. So that's kind of the idea right now. Yeah. So tomorrow will be no a normal day, and yeah. So let's get into it. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah. So let me make sure I have things closed so that All right, cool. So let me go into here. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do. So if you notice, OBS is capturing my desktop, but there's also a stream chat around in this area, which I can't see, but I'm just kind of guessing. It's around this area. So whenever somebody says something, uh, it's going to pop up here. But what I have not figured out is, because I myself want to look at stream chat, I unfortunately do not have multiple monitors. So I am just working with the one monitor on the laptop that I have. Um, I am probably going to quest for a monitor at some point. Um, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. I'm pretty sure there's monitors around here, or like I can ask my pop or something. to borrow one of his monitors. I'm pretty sure I can just do that. But yeah, I'm probably gonna just get a whatever monitor, hook it up, and then can serve that I can do like, stream chat or bringing up documents and something like that. In fact, I think I will make that a priority for today after the stream. So actually, let me write that down somewhere. Notepad. Oh, this background. I don't know if you guys saw the background last time, but this background is so. Oh, I was talking about it actually, but this background is so cool. Like I couldn't not put it up, man. It was just so cool. I was looking for because it's a new machine. I was looking for wallpapers, and I was just like, I saw it, and I was like, I don't write Python, but like I might even write Python just because of probably not, but I was like, this wallpaper is so crazy. Okay, so try to get a second monitor for your setup. Um, at least having that note there, as long as I don't close it by accident, it should be fine. All right, so going into this, um, you know what? Before that, before that, let me. Oh, let's see. Hey, what's up, Matt? I work right now, so popping in for a moment. Hope you have a good day, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stream started. It was a little bit of a rough start. Oh, actually, let me turn off the television because the webcam is much wider than I'm used to, so you can actually see my TV. I don't want to show, either other people, mostly other people's streams because I watch Twitch a lot. But one moment. Actually, let me put it on me right back. Yep, sorry about that. But yeah, yeah, it's like the so I'm streaming. The how you're seeing me is through the webcam of the laptop because I really don't have any other video sources or any other cameras. So I'm just making do. But because it's a new machine, I mean, just I don't want to say aspect ratio, how much you can see, it was a lot more narrow. My last laptop was a lot more narrow, and it's a lot less narrow now. And so I have to be extra careful about that because, like I will be like watching something and start, oh, video. Yes, the void. Let me change that. The void is awesome. Like the first time I started streaming, like I almost want to do something with it because it's so interesting to look at for me. Like, sorry about that. Let me bring up the stream chat. It's going to be a little bit awkward. I'm going to try and make sure it doesn't block the other chat window. I kind of have it in my head where it is, but I'm going to make sure it doesn't block the other chat window. But this is a temporary solution. Um, you weren't here, Aaron. Look at you with the chat overlay. Look, yeah, thanks. Like I was just like, screw it, man, because like it's such a big deal to for me to engage with the chat. Just that's like a big deal for me personally. So I literally went out of my way to set up stream chat like over the weekend. So like yeah, it's just a big deal for me. Where am I? Okay, cool. So pop out. I know. Let me set this to always visible. Always visible. Always on top. Nope. Sorry. Always on top. I am not saying anything silly. Yeah. So I'm gonna put it in the corner. I'll put it here. I won't be able to see everything. Hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. try and lower it a little bit more. Oh, this is obnoxious. Uh, yeah, I can't even see anything. Okay. Uh, I can put it here. I'm literally just looking at and trying to. Uh, you see, this is what happens when you don't set these things up prior to streaming. Like, if I could get it, hmm, I don't want to use this. I mean, you guys will be able to see that anyway. I'm gonna put it in this corner, and I'm just going to. Uh, I'm actually going to. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in this corner. No, I can't even do that. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in this corner. By the way, thanks. Hey, Aaron. Thanks for popping in. We need to get you a sec. Yeah, so I was talking about that earlier. I'm pretty sure I can find a second monitor somewhere. So I am going to go out of my way to do that later today on Fox Kids. I'm going to try and do that later. Um Dude, getting tech in and out of the country is so hard. It's like the most stupid thing. So like if I were to have bought this laptop's expensive, right? This laptop's like a couple $1,000s. I think it's like 2,500. If I were to buy this laptop and bring it in, I think I give me a second, I'm gonna turn off my phone in a bit. I think I would have had to pay 30% duty at least, you know. Like I bought a device. I bought like a Chromecast, and the Chromecast was $60, and I had to pay another $60 on it just to bring it into the country, just to clear duty. Like, and it's funny because you will see like other developers here, and they will have old ass laptops, and you like because of how difficult it is, you kind of understand why. It's like old, breaking down. Like when I was working, people literally had laptops that were physically falling apart. You know, like getting things out in and out of the country is so stupidly difficult, like for no good reason, like literally just no good reason. And we could have a discussion about the politics of Jamaica, or the just how obnoxious it is to get anything done in Jamaica. Um, which is probably contributes to the reason why it's so why Jamaica. Anyways, let me not get into that. Talk about politics and crap. Okay, cool. So MySQL Workbench. We actually don't really need this right now, but I'm opening it because I'm opening it. All right. So database normalization. Um, yeah. Would that apply to gifts sent to you? Like if someone bought you a monitor, how bad would it be? I think it would be the same. So there are a few things that that does not have I'll actually literally have to look it up and talk to you about it. But there are a few things that does not have a duty on it. Technology things specifically in this case. There are a few things that don't have duty on it. I think monitors are one of them, but like because there are like regular ass monitors and gaming monitors, I don't know what the policies are. So maybe like I'll have to look into it. I really would have to look into it. But either way, I'm pretty sure I can find like I can ask around to try to get a second monitor that way. Like even if it's a piece of crap, I don't care as long as it displays something. Like I have something over there behind me, but I don't want to move it, and it's mainly for my gaming setup, and it's cumbersome, and I just don't want to move it. In fact, I don't even have power for it. So yeah, in fact, I don't have power for the second one. It just gets more complicated. Ugh. Yeah. We should look into that. What's the easiest way to supply to good tech goods to Jamaicans would be like, I know there are certain computers, like, I don't want to. I'll look into it. I'll definitely look into it and I'll get back to you. But it's just really hard. And I mean, like, people's what you call it? People's budget is really small in comparison to the US. Even as a software engineer, like when I was working, it would take me, if I wanted to buy this machine, I would have to work I would have to spend 2.5 months salary just to buy the machine. That doesn't even involve duty, just to buy the machine. So there's a lot of combination of things that makes it difficult for people to get tech here, you know. Like, granted, this machine is unnecessarily expensive, so that would be unfair, but there's a lot of like hindrances. And a lot of a lot of it comes down to duty, not even necessarily shipping. Shipping is not the problem. It's really duty. Getting anything through customs is the biggest problem. And to the credit of the Jamaican government, they've been doing their best to do something about that, but it's still an issue as far as I can tell. And there's still the problem of cost. So, of the thing in the first place, and Jamaicans generally don't generally don't make enough money to buy those type of things. You know, there's a whole bunch of things. There's a whole bunch of things. Um, I don't even think if we were to actually solve the problem, it would solve tech, the issue of tech in Jamaica, honestly. A whole bunch of cultural things that I will not get into because I don't want to. Anyhow, database normalization. So, um, actually, let me go over that a little bit. So, came up with a database design here. So we're making a to-do app, simple app. The reason why I chose a to-do app is because everybody's made a to-do app. And so if we were thinking about employing features or anything crazy like that, right? If we were thinking about doing anything like that, at the very least we can go and look at other people's applications, and get inspiration from there. So like, everybody makes to-do apps to practice something, and so like, you can just kind of look at other people's versions of to-do apps, and like tutorials and stuff, and try to be like, okay, cool, you know. Anyways, we made a to-do app. We're doing a database design for a to-do app, and in essence, we have two designs. The users table is going to exist exactly this way, regardless of the design. But we have two ideas. Idea one is that we have a table of to-dos. We have a large table of, is it? Oh no. So yeah, so we have a table of to-dos based on um this list down here, right? So we have a to-dos list. So we have like a title of the list of a to-do list, and then we have to-dos that are associated with it. And in this setup, we make a table that corresponds specifically to the to-do list. In the other setup, an idea two, we make a giant to-do list table, and then we associate that with key value pairs, with foreign keys to this to-do list table. So instead of having, say, um uh say n number of tables, we instead of having n number of tables, where n is the number of tables based on the amount of to-do lists, we only have three tables. So we have two of those. So we have these ideas right now. What I am hoping is that going through database normalization, will inform us on whether or not we should move forward with one of two ideas, one of the two ideas. If push comes to shove, we can actually just make two databases and we can see how that works. All, at the end of the day, all of this is practice. All this really is practice. So, it's not like it's not necessary. The interesting notes here. So, in my reading, I found out that what you call it? I found out that the database is technically an online transaction processing. There was like an article that talks about the different databases, like the types of databases and the types of thinking you should have on the on databases. The other one was online. It was OLAP, which I have here somewhere. Ah, yeah, online analytical processing, and it's just the design of the database changes based on its use case. So yeah, so I am going to start looking up database normalization. I know database normalization has rules. Database normalization rules. Yeah. So we will start with reading said rules. Um, and we will see what our database has, how they apply the how in our naive kind of design, how they apply the rules, how they how they are um how they are not ignoring but are violating potential rules. Not they're not rules, they're more guidelines. You know what I mean? How they're violating potential rules, and we'll just go through this and see how it informs our design. Yeah, hopefully we will have a good enough design where we will actually be able to do that. I'm hoping by at the very least by the end of the week we actually are starting to write API code in Node. But yeah, we're still working on the database. So yeah, give me 1 second. I want to get my phone because I'm supposed to be timing myself so that I can take a break properly. So uno momento. And I'm just going to leave it on so you can all see me traverse my room because that's more important. Wow, I didn't even traverse my room that far. The face of extreme sadness. Okay. Oh, let me put that back. Right, so I'm just gonna set this timer. Probably I'll set it to like 40 minutes or something. Enrique! Really? Why did this thing not go off? That's so weird. Anyways, timer. Uh, Set that to 40 minutes. So in 40 minutes, I will take a short break, walk around, all that good stuff. For anybody who's new, who's popping in, first of all, welcome. Really, really appreciate you coming in, taking the time to 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 see somebody fumble through database design. But in the fumbling, we're learning. All right. Uh, Please please feel free to say hi in the chat. You know, like comment on my haircut. Positive comments, please. I love this haircut. Comment on my haircut. But feel free to say hi in the chat. Thank you. I really would really appreciate like a follow on the channel. And yeah, destroying that bottle of water. Yes. So article reading time because that's the most fun part of the stream. Please not be a video. I still don't know how I should feel about. I still don't know how I should feel about watching other people's videos on stream. It just feels icky. Because in essence, I am the one. I get one. They get the one view from me, right? But potentially there's more than one viewer, and then of course I they can people can view their content without actually going to their video. So it just feels kind of icky, like I don't necessarily want to do that. So until I kind of know the etiquette, I'll just kind of avoid watching other people's videos. I guess you could say the same thing about going on other people's websites because I'm just the one click, but I could potentially be, I don't know. Actually, probably going on websites is a little harder because it's a lot harder to read all of this stuff off of a stream. Either way, thoughts, random thoughts. No one gives you a guidebook on how to stream. you know you just write that guidebook when Amazon says you're doing something stupid and they ban you. It's like you can't do this, but it's not in the guidebook. It's in the guidebook right now. It's like you just put that in there 5 minutes ago. So oh my god. Anyways, database normalization technique of organizing database normalization is a systematic approach of decomposing tables to eliminate data redundancy. Repetition. Is that specifically the reason why? Alright, I'm gonna write that down because oh, I'm not gonna write it down there, but I'm gonna write it down. Um, oh, I did not go over these. Let me go over this really quickly. Not take, it won't take so long. So like the whole idea is to build to learn backend engineering, starting with the data layer and understanding how to get data in and out of the data layer, um, specifically using the tools that the data layer provides, and then we will go into to using the tools that potentially we can use, like in using APIs and stuff like that. So in essence, using some backend programming language or technology. So my thought is maybe writing an API that actually and writing the queries myself, and then going into, is it the ORM? Yeah, like a ORM and doing that. I don't think. Well, either way, yeah. But in essence, we graduate, right? We start with a data layer, and then we graduate to APIs, and then we graduate to different tooling, and that's kind of like the idea here. And then we graduate to launching it, and then the so on and so forth. So these are like just success metrics. These are technologies that I've chosen. MySQL. I'm a React person from front end side, so I'm going to do a lot of React stuff. Node.js is the technology just in keeping with JavaScript, so it's less work. And I want to learn AWS eventually, so I'm going to try and deploy this on AWS eventually. So CRUD application at the time we didn't choose. Let me actually write down to do app so I can stop explaining that. So make a to do app, basic CRUD application, user authentication, which is why we have a user table. Website. Oh, and I administrate a hashtag on YouTube on Twitter. Tech is hiring, and so I'm thinking of making a website for that. And yeah, this is kind of the stuff that we're going to do. We're still doing this. Actually, let me put an X here because I actually completed this. Learn database, the basics of database design. This is what we're still working on now. And then the next thing would be learn the basics of API design. Right. And so to this. Right. So normalization. Oh, right. I was supposed to write this down. Okay. I clearly have ADHD. So somebody. Uh, what? The database normalization. Clearly, clearly you have ADHD. I have not been officially diagnosed, but I will either self-diagnose or I will stream diagnose. That is I'll stream diagnose. Uh, No shade. We know our own. So I was watching a video and I was just like at that of this lady. I posted it on Twitter of this lady with ADHD, and she was just describing what it's like. And I'm like, I'm not that bad. I don't know if I have ADHD. Maybe I just have the. I don't. Maybe I'm just ADD. I haven't graduated to the H. You know what I mean? Oh my god, I should not be laughing about that. Okay. Anyhow, normalization. I'm supposed to have written this down. Damn it. All right. Yeah. So, database, database, best. Database normalization is a process of designing a base to avoid redund. Why can't I spell redundancy? Redundancy. Thank you. Thank you very much, Google Docs. Right. So another thing that I want to, I, you know, in this in this thing, we read an article last time about viewing redundancy as the devil that we avoid. Um, we actually got that a little bit. I'm just kind of reiterating, mainly for my sake, because I kind of want to keep this in my head. So, in the article, they talked about two things. Again, they talked about the types of databases, online transaction processing and online analytical processing, right here. Um, so, in online transactional processing, I think. In online transactional processing, it's more you more want to avoid redundancy, I think. I don't remember exactly. And in online analytical processing, you want to you want to leverage redundancy for faster lookup. um the idea is that you don't view redundancy as the devil. You're not dogmatic about redundancy as something evil. You know what I mean? You view your database design based on your needs, and excuse me, on your needs of what would on the base of two, at least two ideas that I've come across so far, which I think are really interesting ideas, are based on what you call it, based on performance, general performance of the database to look up, and don't engineer it. Add what you need when you need it. Yes, but it's two things, at least so far, that I've seen. So what are the things? They are performance, like I was saying, and query size, right? Like, so would your database perform very well with being in a specific point, right? Would your database perform very well in with a specific design? If it performs very well, how long are your SQL queries? Yeah, Yagni, you ain't gonna need it. Yeah. How long will be your SQL queries? If your SQL queries are good, first of all, if you're managing your SQL queries and they're extraordinarily long, then it's the amount the how long it is means that there's more margin of error, right? At least this is what I am concluding from what I read. So those are things you want to think about in your database design. Oh, okay. Later, Aaron. Thanks for stopping by. That's cool. Thank you very much. But yeah, those things you want to think about as well. As Aaron was saying as he leaves, what you call it? Thinking about this is a silly thing. Thinking about actually getting it out the door. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to over engineer it. You don't want to over like you build what you need when you need it. You don't guess on, oh, we might need it in the future, unless you for sure know that it's a feature that you're going to build. You know what I mean? Like if you know that it's a feature you're going to build and you're going to build it soon, not like, this is something interesting. That's when you apply. That's when you start doing this type of work. But yeah, that's kind of. Anyways, I say all of this to say that you know like in this idea, like database normalization is still, let me actually delete this. The database normalization is to avoid redundancy. It seems like it's, at least it says here, specifically to avoid redundancy. I don't know how true that is. I will actually go look up another article just to ensure. But yeah, problems without normalization. Did I actually finish? Yeah, problems without normalization. If a table is not properly normalized and have data redundancy, then it will not only eat up extra space, but it'll also make it difficult to handle and update the database without facing data loss, data loss. Full stop. Stop. Insertion, updation, and deletion or anomalies are very frequent if the database is not normalized. To understand these anomalies, let us take an example of a student database. Cool beans. Take said example, sir. In the in the table above, we have data for 4 comp sci students. As we can see, data for the fields branch hard. Let me look at and office is repeated for students who are in the same branch in the college. This is data redundancy. So yeah, branch that office telephone number. Right. Um, Insertion anomaly. Suppose for a new admission, until and unless a student opts for a branch, data of the student can't be inserted, or else we will have to set the branch information to null. I don't understand what the sentence is. Let me reread it again. Suppose for a new. By the way, I'm sorry if my reading is annoying. You know, I don't want to just silently be like, interesting. And I vocalize a lot, so I guess that works for the stream. Suppose for new admission till unless student opts for a branch, data of the student can't be inserted, or else with okay. So if the student does not want to be in a branch, but these fields, or at least this field, can't be null, then the student can't be inserted, and that's an insertion anomaly. Also, if we insert data of 100 students of the same branch, then the branch information will be repeated for all those 100 students. These scenarios are nothing but insertion anomalies, not assertion. What if Mr. X leaves the college or is no longer? Yeah, so then you have to update all of these. Yes, we get it. Deletion anomalies. So I don't know if we've ever talked about this on stream. Um, I know there was an article on the last time we were doing this that either talked about it or mentioned it. The idea that um the idea that database design is an art and less of a hard and fast rule. It's like you understand the data you're working with, or you understand the need that you're working with, not necessarily the data. You're understanding the need that you're working with, and so you design a database to fill that need. Um, so in what was it? Anyways, so the way this article is kind of written, at least it seems like, and this is no insult to the article writer because you need this information, is like the immediate question that pops into mind is what happens when this stuff is not as clear. You know what I mean? Like this is a very clear example, right? In when describing like going through tutorials, people say this is kind of like the happy path, right? Where you have a very clear example of what not to do, and then you have a very clear solution to the clear example, right? So people will describe this as being in tutorial hell because effectively they're not learning how to make decisions, which is the whole thing about the career, right? It's about making decisions. It's not necessarily about doing it's not necessarily about doing these things. It's about software engineering is about taking things that are unclear and making it clear as best as you possibly can. That's really the career. Um, and I would guess that's the reason why people kind of aim for people with experience because in essence they can just do all of that. But yeah, so again I say all of that because these are fairly simple like problems. I don't want to say simple, that's not the right word. Um Clearly defined problems. And I feel like there's going to be a point where I don't even want to say I'm pretty sure there's going to be a point where I'm just like, and I mean that's engineering, right? You take the trade-offs of things. There's no 100% right or wrong. There is this works with this or this does this and has these side effects or these things that we we wouldn't necessarily want but we're okay to live with, and that's really engineering in a nutshell. Like, so don't want to view engineering as a series of yes or no's, which is ironic because um a series of yes or no's or a series of binary choices, right or wrongs. It's 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 all gray. A lot of it is gray, so you want to view engineering as navigating the gray area to get to get the most out of the gray area. Like, that's kind of how you want to focus your thought process. Um, but has nothing to do with database design. I don't know, it's just my opinion. So yeah, so here, if the person leaves, then we have to update all these tables. Is pretty much what it's saying. In our case, all records will have to be updated, and if by mistake we miss any record, it will lead to data inconsistency. Yeah. Delete anomaly in our student table. Two different information is kept together. So the more I'm thinking about this, especially where they're talking about the anomalies, if we go back to my design here, this article, or at least the first part of this article, is moving away from, sorry, this idea where we have one single to-do table, and then yeah, we have one single to-do table, and then we what you call it we have one single to-do table and then we update it. And sorry, we have one single to-do table and we use foreign keys to associate it to the to-do lists. Um, for one thing, for at least one thing, is deletion will be a significant problem, which is ironically the next thing. Deletion will be a significant problem here. So there's one table, right? Um, you want to delete this to-do list. To delete all of the data from that to-do list, you would literally have to search the table by the to-do list number and then delete it. Now, that's not all that difficult because all of the tables will be tagged, right? But that can potentially be an issue. Um, it'll definitely mess up the IDs because then you'll have 1, 2, 4. 11 something crazy like that. Um, I don't know how big of a deal that is, but there's some issues as opposed to, oh, we delete this to-do list and we just drop the whole table. You know what I mean? And it's like dropping the whole table is a much easier operation, you know. But it's, we'll figure it out. So let's read the norm. Sorry, so that I'm stretching my neck so that well, my neck is hurting, so that's the reason why I'm stretching it. Anyways, in our student table, two different informations are kept together: student information and branch information. Hence, at the end of the academic year, if student records are deleted, we would also branch information. This is a deletion anomaly. So that was not what I was thinking about, but kudos on you to bring that up. I was not thinking about that at all, actually. Okay, so normalization rules are divided into the following normal forms: first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, BCNC, and fourth normal form. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so for a table to be in the first normal form, it should follow the following four rules. It should only have one single atomic valued, one single valued attributes columns. Values stored in a column should be of the same domain. All the columns in the table should have unique names, and the order in which the data is stored does not matter. What? What is the statement? Um, it should only have single atomic um valued attributes columns. What does that mean? Does that mean like the purpose of the column should be single? Should be like you only the purpose of the column is only for one thing? It is an interesting question. Hmm. Oh God, I just reopened the article. uh, is this cool? Well, what is atomic relationship in first normal form? I've read the definition. If each attribute of relation is atomic, please tell me what is atomic. Thank you. Thank you, dear person from Stack Exchange. Because I was just as confused as you are. I'm fucking stunned. What are you talking about? Alright, that makes no sense. Oh man. 1NF requires that every attribute position in every tuple. What the hell is a tuple? What? Speak English. Oh man, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. In a tuple, in every relational relation contains a single value of the appropriate type. These types can be arbitrarily complex. In fact, the types can be relations, CJ dates, book, database in depth, relational theory for practitioners treats this issue in a way that is pretty easy to understand. Atomic has never really meant indivisible, which is why the term is finally falling out of favor. Loosely speaking, atomic means if a value has component parts, excuse me, the DBS either ignores the existence of these parts or it provides functions to manipulate them. For example, a timestamp has these parts. That kind of value is obviously divisible, and all database management systems provide functions to manipulate them. Okay, so that's what I figured. So they cannot be complex. They can't be composed of things. They have to be, if we were going to go back into programming mode, they have to be primitives. Um, yeah. So they in essence have to be primitive. They have to be basic. So Going back to this example, um, all of these are basic, right? Like roll number. These are basic values. You can't split this value into multiple values. You can't split a person's name into multiple things. Like at best you can split it into multiple characters, but in a real world scenario you can't split it into multiple things. Like this, you can't split computer, like I'm assuming this is computer science existence. Let's go with existence. I don't know what the E is, but computer science edit. No, but you can't split these into anything else and use that to what you call it, use that to accurately identify anything. And I think it's good to note that this is an organizational issue, right? So, like for instance, we can split each of these characters and they mean something, right? Obviously. But in terms of the organization, this is a primitive in terms of that organization. You cannot split these numbers into anything and find something in the organization that will be related to any of those values. That's the idea. Mr. X, like again, you can't split these into characters and then find anything of value in the organization that will be related to those things. So that's kind of the idea. You know what I mean? Is again, as more as developers as opposed to DBAs, or database administrators, the idea for for something being atomic, at least from my understanding, is that they solely cannot be split into something else, or you cannot use a portion of this value to identify something, and I would say specific to the organization, you know. So yes, atomic normalization. That is not even a thing. I just added those two words because they sounded cool. All right, value stored in each column should be of the same domain. I have no idea what this statement means. So we are going to let Google figure that out for me. Google. I should. I'm trying because I was like immediately like fingering do your thing, and I was just like I cannot come up with a statement that has Google and that same like pattern of words. So like, damn it. Uh, hmm. So value stored, in the column should be the same domain. What does that mean? Uh, data domain. Let's go in here. In database management, data analysis, data domain is a collection of values that a data element may contain. The rule for determining the domain boundary may be as simple as a data type with an enumerated list of values. For example, a database table that has information about people with one record per person might have a marital status column. This column might be declared as a string data type and allowed to have one of two known code values. M for married, S for single, and null records were for so on and so forth. So the data domain for the marital status column would be M and S. So then I guess what this means is, and this is from the very limited explanation. What this means would be that um the values that can possibly come up in this column, and I guess this is somewhat similar to this, the values that can possibly come up in this column only matter to this column, right? So again, if we're going back to here, Mr. X cannot relate to roll number. Mr. X cannot relate to name. It technically can, but this is more of a full title as opposed to a name, you know. This is where it becomes a little bit difficult. I would say I would say this is a little bit iffy because we could say that this is the person's name. So we would say that this is a violation of the of first nor what you call it of first normalization rules, right? This is incredibly yes, right? So what you call it? Right. So maybe this would be more of a violation. I mean, I would still say like, especially the way they have this kind of setup, if it's Mr. what you call it, just having the Mr. in front of it kind of allows it to sit in its own domain, But Aiko, Biko, and Seiko, I watched that anime. Oh man, what is that? I almost said Project Justice. Project Aiko actually. That's literally what it's called. Uh, right. So, um, what is it that I want to say? Right. So this may potentially be a violation. I guess you'd have to argue about whether or not it's a violation. But yeah. So the idea is that the values in the database can't be related to any other column. You can't think about it as, like for instance, um, hmm, like say for instance, primary key and foreign key. If you would somehow relate the foreign, let's not go that way. Uh, ah, first name and preferred name. First name and preferred name can potentially be the same thing. They can relate to each other. They could be interchangeable. The data could be literally the same. Or it could be similar enough. You know, I am not sure. These rules don't necessarily feel like hard and fast rules. Or hard and fast. How do I describe it? They don't seem like laws. They just seem like, hey, when you're thinking about making a database in the first normal form, this is what you think about. So all columns in the table should have unique names. That's pretty straightforward. Finally, that's a pretty straightforward statement. Um, and the order in which the data does not matter, that is also a pretty straightforward statement. So even though potentially the data is ordered, because generally when you're making IDs, when you're making primary IDs, or yeah, IDs, primary IDs, I don't remember what they're called, but when you're making IDs, they come out in order. So one, two, I mean, nothing stopping you from doing descending order from whatever MySQL would call infinity, but yeah, usually that usually comes out in order, but you don't really care about the order of the ID because it just needs to identify the table. You don't care where it is. Like if if table 1 is 1 and table 2 is 247, who cares? It just identifies the table. So huzzah. So first normal form. Um I also think that all of these things stack. So for instance, for something to be in the second normal form, it has to be in the first normal form first, and then it can be considered in the second normal form. So this is this is what I'm thinking. So in fact, I'm going to click on this and see if they talk about that in any way, shape, or form. Uh, Actually, let me just ask that question directly to Google. Hey Google. No, no. I was just like, my phone is around. My phone's going to be like, huh? What you want? you never said anything to me before. Oh man, phone's gonna get mad as hell. And now I'm looking at my phone because I said phone. Oh, cool. 4 minutes left. Um. Oh. Okay, cool. I was just like, Dell is canceling Alienware. It's like, no, it's canceling Alienware shipments. I was like, man, that's less interesting. So, um, what is it? Uh, excuse me. Yawn, yawn. So second normal form. Can a database be in second normal form if it violates first normal form rules? Uh, what is this? It's on the internet, so it should be okay. That's the stupidest statement I've made all day. Okay. This actually seems like a better article to read, actually. Or let's go with article. The first normal form, only single values are permitted at the intersection of each to normalize a relation. The process for cool. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna read this article. I don't like this article. Haha. Vamuski. This seems easier. For the second normal form, the relation first must first be in first normal form. Okay, cool. That answers that question. Thank you very much. Article of articles. Um, to be in the third one, the first must be in the first. Yeah. So, like I was saying, they stack. So you cannot be in the second normal form without being in the first normal form. If your if your database violates the first normal form, then it can't possibly be in the second normal form. They're dependencies. They stack. They're dependencies. Why would I say stack? RPGs. That's why I said stack. They have dependencies. The second normal form and the third normal form has dependencies on the previous normal form, on the previous normal form. So if we go, I don't want to say n because there isn't n number of forms, n normal forms. So, um, x, let's go with x. X normal form, um, equals to, let's not, you know what? Let me stop trying to pretend that I'm smart. uh, Okay, cool. So in the first normal form, only single values are permitted at the intersections of each row and column. Hence, there are no repeating groups. To normalize a relation that contains a repeating group, remove the repeating group and form two new relations. The PK of this new relation is a combination of that. So process for IS1. We will use student grade report. So student grade report, split that into that. In the student grade report table, the repeating group is the course information. A student can take multiple courses. Remove the repeating group. In this case, the course information for each student. Identify the PK of your new table. I have no idea what PK is. I'm going to ignore that for now. The PK must uniquely identify the attribute. The PK must identify the attribute value student number, course number. After removing all the attributes, there goes my phone. Mic volumes is really low, I think. So, I can make it a little bit louder. Uh, I'm also speaking a little bit low. So I just don't want to because I'm fairly loud. I can get fairly loud. I don't want to blow out people's ears. Um, by the way, hey, hey, Vice Syndicate, thank you for joining the stream. Really appreciate it. Aha, yeah, yeah. So I get fairly loud at times. So like my whole thing is when I'm adjusting the mic volume down here. Hey, when I'm adjusting the mic volume down here, I just make sure that at my loudest it doesn't get into the red. That's not necessarily a great a great what you call it indicator, but that I'm just doing what I can. Let me not sit in there. Um, thank you for coming into the stream. We are learning. Well, not unfortunately. I'm just gonna get up and walk around, but let me actually do that right now since we have a bit of a lull here. Uh, it's a little bit obnoxious. Cool. Shout test. I am really loud. You do not want me shouting in your ear. You do not want me doing that at all. I am loudy McLoud loud. That's not even that funny. Nah, you're good. Nah, man, you're good. It wasn't that loud. Well, let me just leave it here. If there's problems with the volume, I'll mess with it a little bit more. But yeah, where is it that I want what I wanted to do? Okay, this should do it. Let me go back to the article. So I'm gonna just kind of get up and walk around. I actually have more cable length to move around in. Yeah, sorry. Um, but yeah, thank you for popping into the stream. So what I am working on right now is we're working on database design. Um, Pretty much we're just looking through database normalization, and what I'm hoping is pretty much all the knowledge that I get from all of this kind of allows us to confirm a potential database design, and I'm hoping that the knowledge that we get from this allows us to confirm a database design that we'll go with, and then we just kind of move from there. So I just been reading and just kind of making inferences based on the stuff that I'm reading. So yeah. So right now I'm just kind of taking a break. So every hour or so I will take like a 10-minute, or every couple of minutes or so I'll take a 10-minute break, and just get up, move around, move things. Um, Again, I say this pretty much every stream and every time I do this. Please do this type of stuff. Please don't sit for 5 hours a day just working. Yeah, it messes up your flow and all of that, but please don't do it. Your body will hate you if you continue to do it, as my body does. This is very healthy. We're not really meant to sit. Our bodies are not made to really sit there and just be stationary all day. Yeah, I mean, eventually well, it's not meant to do that. A lot of health problems that can occur, back issues, stuff like that. So please make it a point, if it's at least like every hour or so, just get up, move around a little bit, walk around, take a walk. You know what I mean? I can't necessarily take a walk. Sounds cool. I did something similar to this a few years back in a 6-month .NET course. Yeah, I mean, I went to school and I did all of this, but the last I would say when I did it was 5 years ago, and I mostly do I mostly do front end work, so I'm usually interacting with somebody else's API and database design, and so I don't necessarily get to ask these questions myself. So I mean, I'm trying to get the theory out of the way. Like it feels like for databases, a lot of it is theory. Because you can just kind of pop something into your DBMS, and call it a day. But since the whole goal of this process for me is learning, I do want to take a little bit of a deep dive, but it can be kind of boring because it's just me reading articles and then making discussion about them in essence. So like if people disagree, well, that's fine. That's cool beans. But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing right now. Uh, I am hoping, at least if nothing else, by the next stream. Like I'm hoping by the end of this stream we'll kind of have something. I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like the other normal forms and just kind of the idea of normalization we've kind of covered the idea of normalization, so the other normal forms shouldn't be too long. And then I can't think of anything else from a theoretical standpoint to work on. Yeah, I can't think of anything else from a theoretical standpoint to work on for databases. So then we can just start working directly with our design again. And it's pretty much just because we already have a design. Let me show you the design in case you haven't seen it. This is the design. The idea is the first idea is that we have three well we have three tables. We have at least three tables. The One of the ideas is that we only have three tables. So we have username and password, which links to to-dos, and the to-dos will associate a username and password to the to-do. Yeah, sorry, username and password. We'll associate the username to the to-do. Excuse me. The what you call it? The the to-dos will link to a big table of to-dos, and literally every to-do that the app has will be in that table, right? And then we just attach a foreign key to each row, and that will say, okay, this to do is whatever, right? So the issue there is that, like, for deletions, there's you have to look for all of the rows that you want to delete, and then you have to delete them individually, in essence, as opposed to the other idea, which is having more associative tables, so that when you want to delete something, you delete something from one table, and then you just start dropping all the tables. You start dropping tables until you get the deletion. We're gonna mess around with the design a little bit after reading all of this stuff, and yeah, that's that's pretty much it. Once we do all of that, actually, I might take I'm gonna go get some water because I am out of water and I don't want to spend the next hour. I don't want to spend the next hour without water, so I will go get that. So give me 1 second. No, I'm gonna prep some dinner too. Might be back later. Take care. Yeah, thank you. Again, thanks for dropping into the stream. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your dinner. Give me 1 second. Let me be right back. Hey everyone, sorry about that. Um, nature called literally right when I sat back down. So yeah, uh, break time was good. I am going to set the timer again, and then I did not set the timer. I just looked at it. I'm going to set the timer again. So in 50 minutes, we will call it for the stream. Oh, I did not mention this before. Well, I should have asked him to follow. Oh well, sad face. I did not mention this before, but at the end of the stream, we didn't have it on Sunday, mainly because I felt like Sunday was more of a chill day, which is not really that chill, but it's more of a kind of investigatory day. Um, we have a discussion. We try to just kind of discuss topics in engineering that's interesting. Um, I don't necessarily have a topic in my head right now, so I guess I'll come up with one if nobody else comes up with a topic, and I will just, blab about that for a little bit. Um, like what I'm hoping to eventually be is that what I'm hoping it will eventually be is that the topics that we discuss or is that the chat will come up with something and then we just talk about it. We just give our opinions. But until that time, I have no problem in sharing my silly opinions. And then later on, maybe on YouTube, people will tell me that I'm an idiot or not. Or this is a genius idea. ID. It's a genius ID. I've been working in databases too long. Right. So back to normalization. By the way, I really like this article to be better because it kind of I mean, to be fair, the last article was just like, click on this for another article, as opposed to kind of explaining its process. It's just kind of giving the rules, which I guess it did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was give us the rules. Also, sorry about there being more than one chat. This chat window is for me. This is for the audience. Um, you actually can't see that there's information here, but uh, this is for me so that whenever somebody comes in, I can actually engage with them. This is until I get a second monitor, which I am hoping to sort out today, um, like after the stream. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of the idea. Hmm. Anyways, so the PK must uniquely identify the PK is primary key, right? Primary key must identify the attribute value. Uh, the PK of a database. I think it's a primary key. Yep, PK primary key. Um, I wish. Okay, let me talk about that real quick. Um, when you're explaining something, even if you're like 5 million pages into your book, please don't make it an attribute unless that's how it's commonly referred to as. That's mad annoying. Like I ended up on chapter 12 of your book because I Googled it because your book is online and so people are going to come to it from different places. Like, I don't know what the PK is. What does the PK mean? And it's like, let me go check if there's like a legend or something. I doubt it, but that's just really annoying. You know what I mean? Like, how would I know? How would I know what PK is if I didn't guess? It just makes it. I don't know. It's just something that bothers me. Like something that bothers me, and if Aaron was here, he would talk about this a little bit as well. It's something that bothers me is you have terms, and the terms only make sense to people who understand the terms, and they're not particularly easy to find out what they are. You know, I don't know. You know what? Let me not get into that. It just bothers me a little bit because it's like, what the hell is a PK? It's like PK fire. You know what I mean? You play what? I can't even remember the damn name of that game. You play Earthbound? I thought we were doing database design, not Earthbound design. I was like, what's going on? PK fire. Okay, so anyways, PK must uniquely identify the attribute value, student number or current number after removing all the attributes. That's a very interesting thing. Let me stick with that for a little bit. So the primary key must uniquely identify the attribute value, right? Excuse me. Um, do you, is there a point where you're designing your database and you realize that you don't have anything that uniquely identifies the value in your DB and you go, well, shit, I need to invent something. And you just invent something right then and there. And then you might even go as far as to make the DB just handle it, right? Like, so say for instance, you're making an employee table, and then you realize that you don't have employee ID numbers for whatever reason, because that seems kind of weird, but you don't have employee ID numbers, and you're just like, well, crap, I don't have employee ID numbers. You're just like, screw it, we have employee ID numbers now. You know what I mean? Is that a thing? I wonder. I wonder if that comes up, how often that comes up. Yeah, regardless. So after removing all the attributes related to the course and student, you are left with the student course table. The student table is now in the first normal form with the repeating groups removed. So I like this a little bit better as a description. You still have the kind of hard and fast rules, which I don't think they talk about here. You still have the kind of hard and fast rules, but then you have something more general. So like as a new database designer, you can be like, okay, I can just follow these rules generally. You know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting too. It's like the only thing that's kind of weird is it feels like you take a table, you take a big ass table, which was initially what I was going to do, but you take a big ass table and then you start applying normal forms to it, and you effectively have to go through the entire normal form. I'm pretty sure if you were more seasoned, you wouldn't have to do that process. But it's like you take a table, you break it down into its first normal form, then you take that table and you break it down to the second normal form, and then you take that table and you break that down into the third normal form. It feels like you kind of have to go through that process if you're a little bit new, which is interesting but time consuming, it feels like. So, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be necessarily a table, it would be a database. You would literally just write everything down that you would want. Yeah. So, cool beans. How to update one first normal form anomalies. So, we have update, insert, and select anomalies. That's one of the twos that the those are the three anomalies that the previous article was talking about. Um, student course number. So student course number, course name, da 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 da. Da. To add a new course, we need a student. When course information needs to be updated, we may have inconsistencies. To delete a student, we might also delete critical information about the course. Okay, so we're talking about the anomalies that the original table would have had. How to, so yeah. That's right. Right. Or is it are these anomalies created by the first normal form? Either way, for the second normal form, the relation must be in the first normal form. Cool beans, thank you. That was an earlier question. That was a question from earlier. Relation is automatically in second normal form if and only if the PK comprises of a single attribute. Uh, if the relation has a composite PK, then each non-key attribute must be fully dependent on the entire PK and not on a subset of the PK. There must be no partial dependency or augmentation. So process, okay. So here they're saying that the normal for something to be in the second normal form, the PK must be completely, totally, absolutely unique. You cannot refer to. I might get this wrong as my understanding, but you cannot decompose the PK and use it to refer to other things. It must completely be its own thing. I think that's what they're saying. I am not 100% sure. But I think that's it. Uh, haha. It's I don't know. I don't know. I'll continue with the explanation. Hopefully the example that they give here um goes, and I'll eventually kind of write down everything, um write down my understanding of all of these things, um and then we can look at the excuse me, we can look at the database design if we have time, which that is actually becoming potentially an issue, is the time. To move into second normal form, a table must first be in first normal form. The student table is already in student table is already in second normal form because it has a single column PK. When examining, has a single column PK. So is there potentially like situations where, and I guess the primary key, yeah, you could have a column that literally is labeled primary key in your DBMS. But you know what, let me not say that after talking so much shit about PKs earlier, about the about unrecognizable what do you call it, abbreviations, database management system, DBMS. Database management system. So I will try my best to be clear about everything that I'm saying for people who are watching the stream and people who are silly enough to watch this on YouTube. um but what was it? Yeah, so there's a single column on primary key. That's what PK means. At least that's what I am thinking that PK means. I have very strong evidence to think that it's PK. That PK means primary key, but it could be PK fire. You know, they could be, almost said marks. They could be nests. You know, they could have PK energy. I don't know. We don't know. There's no way of knowing. All right, so um what you call it, so it has a single column PK. So are there points where you have a primary key where it's like technically you have a column that's a primary key, but I guess you don't actually need to identify a primary key in a column, do you? You can just you could make a table without a primary key, and then you just have two columns, and then in the select, you just combine the two columns, or you combine the things in the two columns to find a specific select, right? Or to select rows, right? It's like is this thing in this column and this thing in this column, and that would effectively be a primary key. But it would fail the second normal form, right? Like, why would you want to do that? I guess I guess you could use people's names um as a primary key, right? So like for instance, my name is Chad Stewart. You could use my name as a primary key, but then it doesn't uniquely identify me, right? Even if you have a middle name, there's still chances that there's somebody out there with my middle name. There's nothing that stops people from, or even my middle abbreviation, which is more likely to see in these things, in like data, as opposed to my full middle name, is I say Chad R Stewart, right? That's mainly because there's a whole bunch of people with Chad Stewart, and to uniquely identify myself, I put R, right? Which doesn't completely uniquely identify me, but it uniquely identifies me enough, right? But like I said, that's just a letter, right? So in essence, there's still a bunch of people with my name, Chad Stewart, and now there's a 1 in 26 chance that there's another person with R as their middle initial. Like, so you wouldn't want to use name, middle initial, and last name, first name, middle initial, and last name as a primary key. Um, but yeah, I've never actually seen a database. Well, I guess because of these normal form rules, I've never seen a database with a composite primary key effectively. Composited primary key. I don't even see why you'd want that. But then I am thinking about this as somebody who is at the very end of, like, I'm pretty sure, like, database design and stuff, kind of, we've been making databases for centuries, for centuries, for decades now, and I'm pretty sure all of these kind of come from the pitfalls of database design from way back in the day, even way before the internet, you know what I mean? Maybe not way before, but before the internet, you know so yeah. Old profession is old. Well, I won't say old profession is old. I mean, it's not like software and computer science isn't older than, which isn't you now. Anyways, let me not go into that. Distractioning myself. All right, so more or less what it says is, what this whole thing is kind of talking about is the primary key must be unique, which means more than likely if you're making something a first normal form and you're following best practices, more than likely something that you've made the first normal form will also be under the second normal form. At least that's what I'm thinking. I just want to check something here. I don't know. I'm looking at the CPU usage because I'm a nerd. Oh, identify the new table that contains the course information. So I guess this would be an interesting question, because in the first problem here, we split the table into two tables, student, course, and student, right? Where we had a student grade report, and student grade report had this big long set of things, and then we want to split it so that we didn't have repeating. So first normal form is avoid repeating groups as best as you can. Second normal form is ensure that your primary key is absolutely is unique. It's not composited. So at least this is what I think this is saying. This may not necessarily what actually is, but this is what I'm understanding from my reading, from just reading this stuff. Right. Cool beans. How to update second normal form anomalies. When adding a new instructor, we need a course updating. I don't get what this section is. When adding a new instructor, we need a course. Updating course information could lead to inconsistencies for instructor information. Deleting a course may delete instructor information. Cool. All right. I'm just going to move on because I still don't understand what that section is for. Third normal form. which I don't know, whatever. Third normal form. To be in the third normal form, the relation must be in the second normal form. We have understood that. Cool. Also, all what? Transitive transitive. Thank you, mouth. All transitive dependencies must be removed. A non-key attribute may not be functionally dependent on another non-key attribute. Cool. What? What the hell are you talking about? Great. So now another mystery for the Scooby Doo gang. Okay, cool. To be in third normal form relation must be in the second normal form. That's the only statement I understand. Also, all transitive dependencies must be removed. What is a transitive dependency? So let's start with this phrase right here. Google, do your thing. Transitive dependency. Thank you, Wikipedia, for saving the stream. A transitive dependency is a functional dependency which holds by virtue of transitivity. Just gets worse. Can't, I can't escape these words. Somebody save me. Oh my good God. It's like, let's take big word and in describing it, let's take some more big words. It's like nesting. It's just nesting descriptions. Like I can't imagine the paragraph that this one this one line actually is, or this one statement. I can't believe the paragraph that this one statement actually is. Oh my God. Oh boy. All right. Let, let's try to continue to decipher what the hell this means. Um, excuse me. A transitive dependency is a functional dependency which holds by virtue of transitivity amongst various software components. Transitivity. Okay, cool beans. In mathematics, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. Ugh. Ugh. Okay, I might not go down this rabbit hole. I might, because Wikipedia is going to give me the most formal definition on the planet. In mathematics, a relation R on a set X. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. Okay, cool. It's not helping. Layman's terms. Layman's terms, please. Please. Good God. One time. There's more math. There's more math. Oh God. Oh, please, somebody save me. Jesus. All right. Oh, I'm gonna find. All right. I'm gonna go see if I can find a better explanation for the third normal form. Third normal form in English. God damn it. Okay. We're gonna make another bet on Wikipedia. Okay, a third normal form is a database schema design approach for relational databases, which uses normalization principles to reduce the duplication of data, avoid data anomaly. Ah, yes, thank you. Reduce the duplication of data, avoid data anomalies, ensure inferential integrity, and simplify database data management. I'm going to write that down. Um, because it's not just about avoiding redundancy for I almost said for those who watch Rocky and not is it Greek gods? Adonis? I don't remember what Adonis is Greek. Anyways, yes, let's just prove to everybody how silly you are on TV, in television. Right. So for normalizing principles to reduce data redundancy, avoid data anomalies. It's not necessarily the clearest statement, but I'm going to write it there. Avoid data anomalies. anomalies. Yes. And oh, there's not. There's another statement actually. Um, Again, thank you, Wikipedia. Ensure referential integrity. Referential, no, referential integrity. Cool. Referential. You know what I mean? Referential integrity. Ensure referential integrity. So in that statement with the poorly spelt word, that statement is in essence making sure that the references are proper. Actually, you know what? I might have to look up referential integrity or the exact meaning of referential integrity in in excellence. I mean, it's really just the word referential in this use. And simplify database data management and simplify data management. Cool beans. So database normalization is a process of designing a database to avoid data redundancy. Let me put data redundancy. Data redundancy, avoid data anomalies, and ensure. Cool. And then that doesn't talk about normal form. It was da 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 da. Is a database scheme. Thank you. Where's the definition? Oh, okay. So this talks about database design. The third normal form is a normal form used in database normalization. Third normal form was originated by, thank you, I don't need to know that person. EF Cod. I want to say EFOD so much. It's like so database normalization was designed by was originally defined by a cartoon character named Elmer Fudd. I'm sorry. That's the first thing that came to mind. Oh man. You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna try this. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. I'm gonna try. The third number for 3NF is a database that I don't know how we would say a database. A, um, damn it, I don't have a good example. I'm sorry, I'm doing my best. A fun impersonation. A database design approach for relational database. Oh my god. Oh yes. Database normalization is an idea originally by Elmer Fudd. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm posting it on Wikipedia. I'm posting it on Twitter. Make Elmer Fudd joke. Joke. I wanted to be normalization on Twitter. I'm sorry. Okay, back to what we're supposed to be doing on stream. As you can see, I'm easily amused. All right. Okay, CUD's Its definition states that table is is 3NF if and only if both of the following conditions hold. Our relation R table is in the second normal form. Thanks, Fod. And every non-prime attribute is non-trans. Oh, at least I'm laughing and upset now. Okay, cool. A non-attribute, a non-prime attribute of R is an attribute that does not belong. Okay, cool. A non-prime attribute of R is an attribute that does not belong to any candidate key of R. Cool, cool. So I don't know what the candidate key is, but hey, it's blue. You got her pretty tickled. Yo, it's so funny. It's like, hey man, it's a like database schema design approach originated by Elmer Fudd. I like Looney Tunes. It's really funny to me. Okay. So candidate key. I have a headache now. I laughed that hard. So in a relational model of database, the candidate key or simply key is a relation schema. Of a relation schema, sorry, is a minimal super key. What's the white dude? What do white dude do? Okay, it's a minimal super key. How do you have minimal and then super right beside each other? It should don't make any sense. Minimal super key? Like, I see why people. Yo? I just want to center a div. Where's the divs? Yo, just give me a div to center. I don't want to learn this anymore. Oh my god, this is so confusing. Oh man. Well, this is why people make big bucks doing this work because they have to sit down and read these things and be like, oh, and I get somebody to unhaw it before them. Right. So, I'm just going to ignore that. Reads a long mathematical proof, then says, "Cool, cool, yeah." Yeah. That's effectively the same as getting 500 lines of changes in a PR, and it says looks good to me. Also known as get this thing away from me, please. The mathematicians are right. Yeah, we trust their judgment. It's like you didn't even read it. I don't need to read it. To be quite frank, I don't want to read it. I'm going cross-eyed. You know what I mean? Like confusion. Oh man. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. This is week two. This is week two. And I'm already like, yo, somebody shoot me. Okay, cool. Let me not make that joke again. Okay, so a transitional dependency. God, somebody speak layman. Somebody speak English. Transitional. Okay. We need to avoid geeks for geeks. Please, 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 dear God, give me an English explanation, not a math explanation. Begging you, begging you, begging. Cool. Although second normal formulations have less redundancy than those in the first normal, they still may suffer from. Okay, so that's what this statement is talking about. Looks good to me. You can take over as as maintainer now. Peace. You know what I mean? A guy just ninja vanishes. You know what I mean? He just vanishes. It's just like, wait, what? What? Hold on. What do you mean maintainer? I just changed the letter. I just changed the letter in the word. Don't leave me. Somebody help. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm just going to have to label this in YouTube is the part where I laugh. I'm just literally going to just lol. That's going to be a chapter in YouTube, just lol. Okay, cool. Oh man. Right. So, interesting question with this statement. Does that mean that because there's more than one, like I don't think where's excuse me, Boyce Cod normal for Boyce Fud normal for. Um, is that the only one? I think that's the only other. Yeah. And then this guy, I guess this is a general idea of database design. Um, excuse me. Cool beans. All right, so they may still suffer from update anomalies. So all the normalization. Let me actually write that down too. All the each version of database normalization. Each form, not version. Each form of database normalization um, tries to address potential on data anomalies from specific from database designs. Okay. I think that's good enough. Give me a second. I need to, cause I have all this dandruff. I need to clean my keyboard. I'm just like making sure that dust and stuff doesn't get on it. There's a lot of dust on it, but this fan. Right. So if we update only a tuple, what the hell is a tuple? All right. You know what? This is the second time I was flat out trying to ignore it. Oh God, Python. Tuple. God, I saw the word mathematics and I had a heart attack or I had a flashback. Well, I guess it's not that bad because the flashback are laughing. A tuple is an infinite order sequence of elements. N tuple is a sequence or order list of n elements where n is a non-negative integer. So there is only one zero tuple referred to as the empty tuple. An n tuple is defined inductively using the construction of an ordered pair. Mm. Of an ordered pair. All right, I think I'm just gonna have to continue ignoring that word because it's gonna take me too long to decipher what this means while on stream burning time where we should be doing. Wow, I don't have any more energy left because of all the laughing that I did all of 10 minutes ago. The lull factor. I need to bring somebody on stream that actually knows how to do this work. This is the reason why people get like mentors for things like this. There's like there's a whole bunch of information that sits between me and understanding this like in understanding this very well. Hmm. Anyways, so if we update only one tuple and not the other, the database will be in an inconsistent state. This update anomaly is caused by a transitive dependency. Transitive dependency. Uh, okay. We need to remove such dependencies by progressing to the third normal form. Okay, so okay, so I think I'm getting this. So the third normal form, and I'm pretty sure they're about to say something like that. But the third normal form is so the first normal form. God, it's been so long. It's literally been an hour since we read that. The first normal form was about removing related groups, repeated groups. The first normal form was about removing repeated groups. So if you had to repeat data, and if you had to repeat data to to accurately describe a table, to accurately describe a row in a table, then you want to break the table up so that you're not repeating that data. In the second normal form, you want to ensure that the primary key is specifically, you want to ensure that the primary key is, and the worst part is I'm probably going to forget all of this because we're gonna just do API design. Like all of this is really to confirm, not to confirm, but to understand like how we want to build a database design. But we won't be doing database design for enough to remember all of this. Oh, transitive. Thank you. You don't want me on there. My knowledge is too old school. A man is cool, is cool. Transitive equals changes too quickly to persist, to persist in a typical way, I thought, but I'm probably wrong. Yeah, it feels like transitive is more of a like a hard and fast thing. Like it's like a hard definition of what a database is. It feels like a link of some form whenever people describe it. So it doesn't feel like it's not an observation, and I think that your definition is more of an observation. Um, but I mean, I'm just as in the dark as you, so we are going to just try to get as we're going to try and pull as much information as we can out of this. So excuse me. Right. So yeah. By the way, well, you're not. By the way, never mind. Man, a self-taught DBA or a self-taught backend developer is I can't imagine how difficult this would be if you didn't really have people consistently to explain this stuff to you. Like this is so mathematical. Anyways, a relation in a third is in the third normal form if there are no transient dependencies. Great. I really have to figure out what that statement means. Transitive is a word I kind of remember from grammar. Like I kind of have an idea of what transitive is. Shoot was thinking transient, transitive, like a transitive verb. Yeah, I just I don't know what the word means. Obviously, I know what dependency means. Well, I don't want to say obviously, but I have an idea of what I know what dependency is, but like transitive, and it's like every time I try to define the word, it gets defined by another mathematical word, and I just don't want to go down that rabbit hole just to get the definition while on stream. Like we only have like 10 minutes left before I take a break and then we start yapping. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to. I mean, we've literally been talking about theory for the last 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of time to be just talking about theory. We haven't really written any code. We haven't even written any SQL. You know, like I don't think we've been into work. We've been in Workbench for the last 2 sessions. That's 4 hours. We haven't looked at Workbench in the last 4 hours, or in the last 4 hours of stream. It's a lot of theory, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Well, I guess it's a bad thing for entertaining people because I'm just reading. As a non-mathematical example, thank you, dear God, Matt. By the way, this is not me hating on mathematics. This is me not having. Uh, this is in essence me not having the mathematical background to know what this means, and then to in essence have to 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 talk about it with other people. So it's like we're all in the dark, and like everybody's frustrated. Everybody's frustrated. The streamer is frustrated. Well, it's not. I'm not that frustrated. I'm laughing about it, but the streamer is frustrated. The chat's frustrated. There's frustration everywhere. You know what I mean? But like, if I had the time, I would just sit down and go through this. I just don't really have the time, or I don't want to say I don't have the time. I just don't want to go through it with you guys, and bore you to tears. So metaphors are awesome. Yes, yes. I mean, that's the point of metaphors, is to take a complex idea and to make it simple. Anyways, let me read through this because I didn't. As a non-mathematical example, the relation is an ancestor of is transitive. Like that's all I needed. That's literally all I needed. The ancestor of. For example, if Amy is the ancestor of Becky, then Becky is an ancestor of Carrie. Then Amy too is an ancestor of Carrie. Yes. So okay. So as long as it goes down that line, so in essence, it's a dependency. So another way of describing a dependency, a dependency is dependent. Like this thing is dependent on that thing. And in essence, what the third normal form is trying to remove this this description, right? It's trying to remove that Amy is the ancestor of Becky, who is the ancestor of Carrie. Is to try and remove that. At the very least, that's what it seems like to me from this statement. Relation is in the third normal form. By the way, we're probably gonna have to do this again um, tomorrow. I immediately apologize to anybody watching. um, really and truly, it will just kind of be getting the third normal form defined and then then looking at my database design and seeing how we can get it into the third normal form because it really feels like it really feels like that's probably what we should be doing because there's a lot of strong benefits for it. Granted, the database is not going to get that large because it's a toy project, but you know, good practice, good practice. Yeah. But yeah, going back to what Matt was saying. By the way, Matt is living in a van. I don't know if he's actually living in a van. He probably, I don't know. You know what? Let me not say that. That's messed up. Oh, but yeah. So a relation is in third normal form if at least that X is a super key. Here's a super key statement again. Uh, at least one of the following conditions hold in every non-trivial function. Dependency X to Y. X is a superkey. Y is a prime attribute. Each element of Y is part of some. Uh, name is the name is the SNL character. Really, living in a van. So clearly, I don't watch enough SNL. I stopped watching SNL. I think 2010. When I stopped watching it, like well, to be fair, I didn't watch that much SNL to begin with. Mm. But yeah, sorry, I don't know. You know what? Let's decompress by looking that up. Living in a van. SNL. Matt Foley. Oh my God. Uh, wait, are you? Oh, is you serious? How could I not know this Chris Farley's character? Oh, because I didn't watch the I only watched the what you call it. I only watched a skit on YouTube. I didn't watch the actual episode. Like this is actually the first episode. This is where Chris Farley got his what you call it. This is where, by the way, we're now decompressing from all the mathematical reading that we were doing. Uh, this is the first episode that Chris Farley, um, where his kind of where his comedy came from in essence. Because Chris Farley was loud and obnoxious and stuff like that, and that's where kind of his brand of comedy. But then he fell on the table. Yeah, Chris Farley skit. Yeah, he fell on the table by accident. And destroyed it, and everybody flipped out, and he just ran with it, and then that literally became his shtick for the rest of the time he performed, and like I don't think anybody does slapstick comedy like that anymore at all. Period. In fact, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, nobody does slapstick comedy like that anymore. Yeah, the skit is hilarious, but even funnier because other people in the skit couldn't stay in character because they were laughing. So, oh yeah, were they? Because I know when he initially fell on the, and I'm not going to play it, because I don't know how Twitch will be about it. But when he initially fell, he everybody was like flipping out. Everybody like wanted to break character to get up and help him, and then he got up. And then he was just he was just running with, oh yeah, and like during the time because he's like yelling, I live in a van by the river, right? He's run, and then people were like laughing about that. I remember that part. It's been a while since I've seen the skit, but like it was funny. It was funny. It was funny. We miss you, Chris Farley. The world misses you. You passed way too soon. I mean, the world misses a lot of comedians. Like even Robin Williams, who had a really good run. We still miss you, Robin Williams. You know, like damn man, my childhood. Yay! Yep. Oh man. I need to go back to watching SNL, like especially for like Keenan Thompson, man. Like I remember watching him during Keenan and Kel, and I'm just kind of happy to see him coming up. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what Kel is doing. I've seen him on a few things. Here, there goes the phone. Um, yeah, yo, rest in peace for real, man. Damn, man. God, I'm pretty sure I watched a lot of Chris Farley's movies. I don't know if I watched every one, but I've watched all of Chris Farley. Let me get up. Let me move the camera and then let's get up. Um, I've watched all of Chris Farley's movies. I don't want to say I've watched all of Chris Farley's movies, but I've watched a bunch of them. That was another comedian that the skit in that killed himself later. Can't remember. Really? Really? Who? I only remember. So was it the dad? Was it the dad? Or was it one of the kids? God, that sucks, man. I don't know, man. Like, it almost feels like. By the way, I'm getting up and stretching. I don't know. It seems like a lot of bright stars. Just Hollywood, man. Hollywood does that to you. Or Hollywood does that to you when you have problems, and Hollywood is not very good at helping you sort that out. It's just very good at exploiting you. But let me not get into that as well. The dad, yeah, God, he killed himself too. Like I definitely remember him a few times from the '90s. Man, that sucks. That sucks a lot. Sorry if it's the stream's kind of being a Debbie Downer now, but dang man. But yeah, no, like man, I miss the 80s and the 90s for like just comedy in general. Like I feel like I feel like the I don't want to say the world was more open because to be quite fair, a lot of comedy was pretty what is it? What's the phrase that I'm thinking of? Disrespectful, you know? So, but people I don't know, like even just the types of things that are funny that people will try to be funny, you know what I mean? It's we don't really have we don't have people like experimenting like that anymore, to be honest with you. It feels very I don't want to say safe. Safe's not the right word. Recycled. It seems very recycled. It's like, oh, we know this is funny. Yeah, apparently the 90s were really fun for software devs. Yeah, I've heard some stories. I have a friend. I mean, he's been working as a web developer for the longest time, and he was telling me some stories. Like he told me some stories about Microsoft back in the day and how much of assholes they were. I've It was so much craziness. I think I remember a story where the Internet Explorer team bought like I don't know if it was like a statue or a poster of Internet Explorer and sent it to Netscape. I feel like I hope I'm not getting the story wrong. But yeah, like I mean, to be quite honest, like I would say software development 90s and early 2000s pretty much until it really it really got into the public eye and there were much more people doing it was the Wild West, man. It frat boy party, right? Yeah, frat boy party. Yeah, there's a Red Hat podcast series I think that's called Browser Wars, and it talks all about that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Red Hat. I'm gonna go look that up. I probably should watch it with him. I should probably tell him about it. But like he literally, because he tells me, he literally uses that exact statement. Well, everybody, I'm pretty sure everybody and their mom used that exact statement. He was talking to me about all the different browsers, and I didn't realize that there were so many variations of Safari back in the day. Like there were so many variations of Safari. Like Firefox went through a bunch of variations. I think the original version of Firefox was a Phoenix project, which is why there's the association with fire. Um, but excuse me, like there's like, and then we have Internet Explorer, which is really just versioning, right? But you have Internet Explorer, but there was like so many browsers. It was like a gold rush when during the 90s, during like the mid 90s. Like literally that's the only way I can describe it, is a gold rush. Um in the mid 90s. Um, Probably should make this the topic. Well, I don't have enough knowledge to talk about it. So, uh, I guess we'll just kind of chat randomly about it. But yeah, like, man. And I mean, I can only infer what happened because I wasn't really a part of the development scene. Um, like I was a kid, you know what I mean, during that time. So like we could just, I don't know, like the super secret inside story stuff, you know what I mean? Like even in the 2000s where I could possibly have actually been working, I don't know too much about that stuff. Yeah, especially in like Silicon Valley, and just the attitude, that I don't want to say attitude is the wrong word. Just the culture of software development, which is like something that we're actively trying to kind of push out, to be quite honest with you, because it's very toxic for the most part. Or I don't want to say we, um, the what you call it, that the scene is trying to push out. At this point, I'm just kind of existing. uh, yeah, but um, what is it that? What else? I guess that's it. How long have I been standing for? Not too long. Let me just mess around. I'm just kind of moving. Yeah, moving and grooving. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Let's spend the time to figure out what topic I should talk about. Um, uh, should I talk? I don't want to talk about interviewing because I feel like I don't have enough information about interviewing. I mean, it's a discussion. I could talk about that a little bit. Saw something for your stream you might like, by the way. Oh, cool. Let me see. Let me see. Um, yeah, I guess we should call it, or not. We should call it. I don't want to end the stream, but uh, as Matt gets, I don't even feel. I don't know. Let me stick with it. As Matt finds as Matt finds the thing that he wants me to see, I will um I guess we can think about what we should talk about um for the end of the stream. Whew. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to. So there is something I've been thinking about. I actually want to make a proper video about it. Um, I wanted to make a proper video about it instead of just kind of giving my thoughts. In fact, let me switch to this thing. Let me switch to webcam. Huzzah. Let me switch to webcam, and then where is it? Let me bring up. I have like some notes for articles that I wanted to write. Let me see. Here, yes. I have some notes for articles I want to write. And one of the things is, where is it? Well, so there's this question I wanted to think about. Is full stack engineering, actually, let me check something. Yeah. Is full stack engineering a good term or not? A guy on Twitter where Steph has a stream and his music fades in and out. He uses. Oh yeah, yeah. I still haven't used the stream thing. You actually mentioned the what you call it. Excuse me. You actually mentioned the thing for playing music, and I just forgot to look into it. Where is it? Where did I put it? I know it's in the notes, and I forgot to look into it. I was too busy thinking about the stream chat, admittedly. I'm pretty. Ah, it's right here. I will have to look into that right after the stream ends. Um, at the worst dev. Yeah, I know him. I seen. Do I follow him on Twitter? I think I follow him on Twitter. Let me. If I don't follow him, I'll follow him now. I think he streams a lot. Oh, he actually streams. I remember him saying that he was going to be on the GraphQL stream. Let me go figure it out. Sorry for the random. Yeah, I do follow him on Twitter. That's how I knew that he was going to stream a GraphQL. All right. Anyways, let me go back to this. Let me go back to this. I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. But I want to right. So I have a few things that I wanted to write as articles, and I haven't written them yet. I might still write them, but these are kind of my thoughts. So this one particularly, I really want to write art. I really want to write an article on, and this might not necessarily be the best title, but how to visualize and measure your impact. So there's a problem, or I don't want to say there's a problem. Um, Understanding your impact is really 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 difficult in software engineering. Just really understanding your impact to the company. Like, it is not something. What is the statement that I should call it? It is not something intuitive. It's not something intuitive. There is no, you write this amount of code and it equals this amount of impact. You have to do analysis to understand your impact in an organization. Um you have to go out of your way to figure it out, right? And the idea, to be honest, it's subjective. Like, there are things that you do that is objective, but the importance of the impact can potentially be subjective. You know what I mean? Like, like how you view it. I don't necessarily want to get into that too much. But the idea of what is your impact, right? And specifically the idea of how you associate your how do you associate your level as a software engineer um with your impact. So, like, the kind of idea is, like, as a junior engineer, you can, and this is one example of describing junior engineers, which I don't think we do very well either. As a person who's actively tried to figure out what a senior engineer is, and has gotten 5 million different answers, which that show very little, like, I don't want to say cohesion, but they if they're not the exact same statement, it's the statements themselves um don't align very well. Anyhow, um the way people view kind of, and like, the levels of engineers, at least from what I see, is, let me unselect this. Oh wait, you can't see it. The way people view the levels of engineers that I see is, like, juniors can fix problems, like find bugs and so on and so forth. Like, they're you know they're what they're looking at is very narrow. Um, so another description would be, a junior can solve a problem with a lot of, good God, horn. A junior can solve a problem with a lot of. what you call it, with a lot of guidance and mentorship. A mid-level engineer can solve more broad problems. So a mid-level engineer can solve features, can make features. So like for instance, um, I guess one of the things that I did, make a nav bar, and make it do all the things that a nav bar needs to do. A mid-level engineer can do that really well. And then a senior and then in essence they can solve problems with less mentorship, right? And in essence, it's the more things you can do and the less mentorship you need to do it. And that's kind of the kind of idea, is like as your seniority increases, the amount of things that you can do without mentorship decreases, and it's like that kind of comparison, right? So going to senior, a senior can deliver full projects without with minimal mentorship, and eventually you get to a point where mentorship is just minimal, right? And then if you're going continuing down the individual contributor route, which generally I would say, I don't know if this is where a lot of the times things split, where you kind of split at senior, where it's just like, oh, I want to do more managerial stuff, or just manager stuff, and then you really continue to. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the chat just to make sure that I didn't miss any messages. You continue down the individual contributor route. Like I feel like there's a lot of the times when I'm hearing people's stories, the path splits at being considered a senior engineer, right? um Even if you're forced into management, you usually become a senior engineer or a team lead or some combination of that, and then you go to management, right? Anyways, the path tends to split around this area. By the way, I still haven't started talking about the thing that I wanted to talk about, but you go down, and in essence, it's either it's less mentorship. Are you mentoring people? You know, and like what parts of the organization you're touching, right? So that is still like a somewhat I feel like it's descriptive, but it's not particularly helpful. So I've been trying to come up with a metaphor to describe your impact, and in essence associate that with seniority. And the idea that I came up with is this. Imagine at first I started with a microscope, but I think this is better from a metaphor. Imagine that you are at the base of a mountain, or you have a mountain in in the background, right? In your view, like you see all of the mountain, right? And the mountain represents an organization, right? A mountain, a hill, whatever, some piece of land that is massive and bigger than you. That's massive and bigger than you, and you can actually see. Let me not go too far into that, but yeah, like, so you have like a mountain or a hill in front of you, and it represents an organization. And you have, let's say, magic goggles that in essence gives you infinite zoom, right? Um, so I would say I would say the best way of viewing your impact is if you're looking at this mountain and you're viewing it through these magic goggles, um, with infinite zoom, that's why it's magic, right? How much zoom would it take for you to to clearly see your impact in the mountain, right? And the more zoom it requires for you to see that impact is the more zoom it requires for you to see that impact is the more junior you are. So if you were to think of it directly as an organizational thing, if I need to go into a specific part of the code to see a specific module that you wrote, or so say a specific line of code that you wrote, then that requires a lot of zoom. So like literally, if I were standing at the beginning at the if I was standing outside of the building, I would have to walk into the building, then I'd have to walk to your, depends on whether you can attribute the activity at the bottom of the mountain to the avalanche you caused at the top. That's actually a really interesting point. That is a really interesting point. Um, that is a really interesting point. You see, the original idea I was thinking was a microscope with the same thing, right? But you can't make that statement. I guess you kinda can, where it's like, if you have a microscope and you had to zoom in to like, I don't want to say a test tube, to a petri dish, and then how much zooming you would do to make an impact. I felt like that statement wasn't as easy to understand as opposed to a mountain with and goggles. Um, so you're absolutely right, because you can make a tiny error and that has an impact and it causes an avalanche. In fact, that's probably really good as well to kind of understand impact, which also gives me a bit more confidence about the mountain metaphor. But let me go with my happy path to stretch your metaphor for fun. Yeah, let me go with my happy path version of this metaphor. So where there aren't avalanches and there aren't catastrophic events happening to this mountain that's destroying it. I almost said fracking. Anyways, right. So you like how much zoom on these magic goggles? Let's kind of re-establish. There's a mountain. The mountain represents the organization. You have magic goggles that has infinite zoom, and that's why they're magic, right? How much zoom would it take for you to clearly see your impact on this mountain? How much zoom would it take for you to clearly see that you were a part of you, something that you did is defined on the mountain, right? Attribution is one of the hard parts of management. Attribution. Okay, yeah. Helping people believe that uh what they do makes a difference. Do a mix of difference. I don't understand that last part of your statement. Yeah, I don't understand the last part of your statement. But like, yeah, you're right. You're right, And I mean, it's because it's hard, like, I won't, I'll try not to stay too much there so I can kind of continue to describe what I was thinking. Um, is what you call it, um because you're kind of in the weeds, right? And a lot of the times, you're in the weeds and you're focusing on this one thing, and then you're not thinking about how it affects these people, and you may never even get the information on how it affects these people. You know what I mean? Like the one change in the code base where all of a sudden, a feature doesn't work, which like say sales uses, right? Like, makes it. That's what I figured it was. I just didn't want to assume. I just didn't want to assume what you were saying. So that's literally what I figured. Like that was my first thought, you know. So anyways, right. So it's kind of really hard, and it's like I don't want to say what management does, because to be quite honest, I've never been a manager. And so I can only say what management does from, I almost said circumstantial evidence, but from just my own experience of viewing managers and hearing people talk about management, So I don't want to say what they do and why it's difficult, you know. But um, going back to the mountain analogy, so the idea is, if I have to zoom in very far to see your impact on this giant mountain that we're calling an organization, that would make you more junior. The more zoom you have, that you would require to see your impact is the more junior you are. And then the less I have to zoom in to see your impact is the more senior you are. Okay, actually, let me finish the statement before I read Matt. Actually, you know what? Because it's going to disappear. So to stretch the metaphor further, people are discouraged by the degree to which their contributions are outweighed by the changes from the wind and other external factors. Okay, see. To stretch the metaphor further, I'm just trying to make sure I understand this. People are discouraged by the degree to which their contributions are outweighed by the changes from the wind and other external factors. It's an interesting point. I never really thought of it like thought of that. Where it's like uh it's and I'm this is what I'm assuming you're saying, like if you make this change and then all of a sudden there's something happens in the world that causes us to have to pivot a particular thing, you know do you want to make that change? And this is the reason why, like in bigger organizations, you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. Again, this is my assumption, is that like pivoting is hard. Pivoting is hard, and pivoting is hard because there's so much stuff that you have to move. And so, do you want to make a change where that, you know, say for I don't know. You know what? I'm going to take your statement at face value because I feel like I don't want to make people think that it doesn't make any sense, or I don't want to I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna just keep going. So, the metaphor. So, like, going back to the metaphor specifically, is the less zoom that you would need on your magic goggles is the more impact you have, and the less in that case, that the less zoom you need is the more senior you are. So, um, oh, thanks. Thanks, Robot. I'm going to get your name wrong, but Robot Nikto. Thank you so much for coming into the chat, or for viewing the stream. Thank you so much. Thank you for so much for saying anything in the chat. To be quite honest with you, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the viewing, and thank you so much. That's all I have to say. Thank you. I'm just gonna keep repeating it. The more thanks. Anytime. Haha. So going back to the metaphor, yeah, so the less it would take for me to see your impact on the mountain is the more senior you are. And in essence, there's like a end point, right? Where the end point is, if I can literally take the goggles off and just look at the mountain with my own eyes and still see your impact, then you're really senior, right? Like you're sea level to the organization, or you're like a owner or something, or whatever, that would let it be that I don't need any form of assistive eyewear to see what your impact is on the organization. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like something that I've been kind of playing around with. I wanted to write like a proper article about it. But I kind of want to talk about that here. You know what I mean? Like the idea is that you view your impact as like you being able to see a physical thing. And like as Matt talked about, is that like there could be environmental things that happens to this mountain, like the landslide, right? Like what small thing did you did that caused the landslide that could potentially do so much damage to the mountain or to things that are around this mountain? You know what I mean? Like, what was the small thing that caused it? It could easily have been a pebble that got loose and started rolling, and then started knocking other pebbles, and then now you have three pebbles rolling down the mountain, and then they're knocking. Look, I've never seen a landslide before, so I am going with what what I can imagine. But like, what little thing caused all of this? You know what I mean? Like, it happens all the time where if you look at big reports from like things going down, like say for instance, if you go and you look at the ways AWS has gone down for a period of time, um, it can be traced back to one change. Or I don't want to say it can be. I don't want to pretend that that's the case, but the there are small changes that cause these catastrophic failures. You know what I mean? But like, that's just kind of like something that I wanted to kind of to talk about, is just establishing a metaphor for viewing impact. Um, I should talk about why I came to this. Let me read Matt's message so that I can kind of bring this into the discussion as well. The pitfalls of the metaphor deal with the fact that you could come to a lot of the same conclusions, that seniority simply equals proximity to the top. Yeah, I guess that's the case. That's the case. I would have to think about it a little bit more. Like I said, my the original idea of the metaphor was really the a petri dish under a microscope, because it's more flat, right? Like, whereas a mountain is a very three-dimensional thing, and there's a fair amount of things that can happen to it. you know More optics, clear picture of the whole organization, more careful dangers, etc. Yeah, maybe the mountain idea isn't, maybe it's not the best thing, the best idea. But the whole idea is to try to get a physical representation. Like, so the reason why I'm doing all of this, and to be honest, I was doing this for me personally. The reason why I was doing all of this is, to be quite frank, I don't understand. Like, I understand impact from a theoretical standpoint. I don't think I've had differing changes of impact where where like I've affected multiple people's lives with the work that I have done. You know what I mean? Like, to consider macro versus micro about the impact that bees dying would have on the earth. Yeah, that's true too. I mean, I wanted to focus mostly in on the organization. So like for instance, you're looking at the bees being an entity in the organization, or in organization, sorry, in the net, in the earth, the ecosystem of the earth, right? Like, the earth is a really, 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 really big place, and like, bees dying out, and really it's not it's just not just bees, it's pollinators in general, which we've been affecting. Is pollinators dying out has a large impact on vegetation and just the sustainability of life on on the earth, because of, like, anyways. um but I understand. In essence, is like, you can't view a mountain as in a 2D space. You can't view it as just what you see, because it's not just what you see, right? Like, it's not. It's so I probably would go with a petri dish metaphor, but it's not just what you see. There's a lot of things under the mountain that is happening. There's a lot of things under your feet that's happening. Whereas, like, petri dish, like, it's much closer to what you see is what you get. you know. But the idea is, going back to why I kind of brought this up. The idea is that I personally don't understand impact, because in my opinion, at the very least, I haven't had a lot of impact. Like this I'm doing, the streaming thing, is potentially a high impact thing. I could have potentially a lot of people view it. I could potentially have a lot of people view it. Could potentially have a lot of people change their opinions. Or, I mean, to be honest, every single person that watches this, I will have an impact on them. If not because I change their opinion, but because even if they think that I am wrong, which that's a possibility, even if they think that I am wrong, um, I would have given them better reason to think, to better reason to sit in their view, in their viewpoint, and thus I would have had an impact. Like, the only way I couldn't have possibly had an impact if my views were exactly the same as somebody else's, or the exact same as multiple people when you put it together, like if you were to decompose it, it's like somebody said a version. There's a fly in there in the room. Somebody says there's a version. Go away. Thank you. Somebody said versions of what I'm saying. It's just multiple people said it. Like, so it's my way of trying to understand the impact, which is why it's the title of my article, right? Or it's a proposed title of my article, is that how do you how do you understand impact? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you understand it? How do you explain it to a junior? You know what I mean? And I think this is the biggest problem, is that people who have experienced it, they don't necessarily need an explanation because they have experience that will define it for them. But how do you talk about people who've never experienced it? Never experienced having high impact work. You know what I mean? We say that it's important. It's like describing gold but never seeing it. You know what I mean? Like, gold is this precious metal that can really change your life, but you've never seen gold. How do you describe gold? You know what I mean? And this is my attempt at the very least, describing it for myself, potentially describing it for multiple people. You know what I mean? So how do you describe impact? And I think that's potentially a problem, especially for people who are advancing their careers. Maybe put not necessarily potentially people who are looking for job search for who are job searching, because you're trying to get into the job, right? But like, you're comfortably in a job and you're trying to advance your career. And then we as engineers, or we as people in the software development community, or just in IT in general, we talk about impact. Oh, you want to have an impact, so much so that we describe people with more value as people with impact. Like, there's literally a one-to-one comparison to people with impact and people who have impact, and people who are valuable. You know what I mean? But impact is not something that doesn't feel very well defined, you know and it's like the problem that we were having earlier in the stream, where we were trying to understand something, and the explanation we were given was mathematical, which is completely 100% correct, but it doesn't do the job of taking me, a layman, um to move me from not understanding to understanding. It doesn't do that, right? And so if it feels like we have, oh, how many users did well, I guess that's still kind of easy, right? Like, how many users, I don't know, but it was just my attempt of trying to understand the impact and trying to associate it with something physical, so that associate it with something that a lot of people have potentially seen or have interacted with, or can see, like, just, attaching a story to impact. You know what I mean? Like, attaching a story that a lot more people can understand than the 100,000 users. Like, can you imagine 100,000 people? Can you imagine 100 people? Can you imagine 1,000 people? You know. But yeah, that's something I've been thinking about personally. um impact. So I'm probably gonna still try and write an article about it or make a video or something. The idea of impact and then the goal of the video. In fact, I probably should write it down here. See, I literally have it as a note. View the organization as a petri dish, and I think I'm gonna go with that. How much magnification would you need before you can see your impact? Is your impact unique to you? you know like that's another thing too, right? Actually, let me go through these notes because these are pretty good notes. The less magnification you need to see your impact, the more senior you are to that organization. That's another thing. That's the reason why I described mountain and hill, right? So there is a in the analogy, I wanted to make a point that there is a proportional, that your impact is proportional to the set of things, right? So if you are on a hill or on like a small bump on the road or something like that, your impact is much easier to see if you can see the organization in the first place, right? So say for instance you can see a hill, like it's not difficult for you to see like the hill, then seeing the organization, because you may potentially have to get closer to the hill or stuff like that, seeing your impact on that hill would be easier than say trying to look at Mount Everest, right? To in keeping with the mountain definition, you know, excuse me. Seeing your impact is would be easier on a smaller surface, or on a smaller thing, if we were to assume that you could perfectly see it, right? So there's that note as well. How unique is your impact? This is actually probably the most important thing, or not the most important thing, but a really important thing too. Something I didn't talk about at all. How unique is your impact, right? So, for instance, if you're a front-end engineer and you're writing React code, um, you're writing React code, and you like going back to my thing, you know, excuse me, you make a nav bar, right? Excuse me, you make a nav bar, right? Um, how unique, uh, how, like could somebody else potentially have made that nav bar? If you did not exist in the organization, could the nav bar still exist? Not even necessarily could it exist in the way you built it, could it exist period and do its job period? You know what I mean? How unique is your impact, right? So like for instance, back to the mountain analogy, say your impact was a crater, right? Like you made this crater in this, that's probably not a good piece of impact, but say your impact was a crater, right? Just to make it easier. Or actually, let's go with something that's more practical. Say your impact is visualized as a giant rock, right? So you're adding to the mountain as opposed to taking away from it. It's a giant rock, right? Say your impact is a giant rock, right? How unique is that rock? If there's another rock there, I don't want to, because I'm pretty sure every rock is fairly unique in terms of how its creation. But like, how unique is that rock, right? If I were to take that rock and replace it with another rock, would would it be able to still do the same job? And that is uniqueness of your impact, right? So it's the size of your impact and the uniqueness of your impact. If you weren't there, would that impact exist? And would the organization benefit the same way? You know what I mean? And so this whole thing is my attempt at kind of, I don't want to say rationalizing, but trying to understand that problem of impact is the uniqueness of the impact and the size of the impact. How do I take that statement and make it into simple terms that I can explain to anybody, which includes myself, because I am a part of anybody who doesn't understand this. In fact, that's it is. How would I take this statement and explain it to somebody who generally wouldn't understand it if you just said the word impact in relation to software engineer? And like I said, I am a part of one of those people, which is why I'm trying to do this work. or why I wanted to write this article. But yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about doing, or not thinking about doing. That's something I've been thinking about. I haven't put as much thought into it, mainly because of just streaming and just thinking about doing the stream and stuff like that. But it's something that I've been really thinking about doing. Um, it's something that's really important to me. I think, to be honest, it will either inform, it definitely will inform my and potentially a lot of other people's software engineering careers, because like I feel like it's very easy to come into software engineering and just think about code and thinking about being able to write good code, and then not think about your impact. You know what I mean? Not think about the I'm sorry, there's people kind of talking in the background, but not think about, you know, how you're impacting software engineering. By the way, in a positive way, not in a negative way, because we don't want that. But how you're impacting software engineering in a positive way. How you're impacting the world in a positive way. How you're impacting the world, period. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to kind of get into this industry and forget that, but like everybody's using that so eventually everybody is using that as a way of determining your value, and it's very easy to go and just not know that you're being judged this way. And I think it's unfair. Well, I don't want to say I think it's unfair. You know what? I will say that I think it's unfair that people should be armed with this information about how they're being judged, and they should be armed with it enough where as many people as possible can understand it. Maybe I'm making too much of a judgment on software engineering, but yeah, like it's just something that, because I don't understand it, and I feel like I've been in the industry a little bit, if for enough to know that to understand. And I mean, like, I've even talked to people at the very least here, and it's never even been a conversation. It's never even been a conversation around, at the very least in my local area, um, the impact. You know, it's like we kind of talk about value, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not talking to the right people. But like I said, it was something. It was a topic that is important enough to me for me to attempt to write an article on it. And it's not even necessarily to write an article to be the de facto voice on this thing. It was just more like, yo, let's have a conversation about it, which probably something, I probably should write the article after having discussions on it. So I'll probably, instead of writing the article, I'll probably just ask people and then try to have, like, this probably would make a great panel. You know what? I am going to write that down as a note. This would make a great panel. This would make a great panel discussion, and I probably should try. And I will say, how do you define impact? I almost wrote Pikachu, and I do not know why. How do you define impact? I'm sorry. How do you define impact in a way that you could easily explain it to a junior engineer, to a junior software engineer? And then key things, um, size of impact, uniqueness of impact, and we want to say size of impacts, impacts, also known as also importance of impact. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make that a separate thing. Um, Importance of impact. So size of impact, uniqueness of impact, importance of impact. If we were to define impact that way, we're not. I'm not going to pretend that that's an accurate definition, but yeah, something to talk about. So I will probably try and organize that somehow, because that is something that I want to know. You know, What in goddamn hell is impact? What is it? What is it? Can I grab it? Can I throw it? I'm thinking of a cartoon. You like grab a squishy thing and you throw it on the wall and it bounces back and hits you in the head. It's like no, but what is impact? Like it's like a mystery to me. You know what I mean? It's a mystery to me that affects my career. Like I have to write my resume to show impact. I have to I have to I have to navigate my career to show that I am causing an impact. You know what I mean? I have to do all of this with the phrase with the phrase with the word impact, but I cannot even define it properly. You know what I mean? What is impact? You know what? I'm going to even write that down too. What is impact? So yeah, that is probably something I will work on doing. Um, I can't tell you when because obviously this just popped into my head right now. Oh yeah. Oh sorry. Yeah, he said the same thing. His chat hasn't changed. Um, that is something that I will think about work. I think about. That is something. In fact, I'm gonna put it in my notes. Here. So copy. Let me put it in my notes here. Boom. And then you guys can't see my notes, but uh, nope. I want to put this here, and so actually, nope. I want to just get rid of this. Um, yeah, give me a second. I'm just updating my notes. So that I can actually cool. And then here, yep, this would make a great panel discussion. So, yeah, I am going to attempt to. I have no goddamn idea how I'm going to do this. I am probably going to start speaking to people about it. But I am going to see if I can put together a panel um, where we specifically tackle the idea of what is impact, and and it has to be. We have to. I don't want to say the panel has to come to a conclusion by the end of it, but the goal is what is impact and how would we be able to describe it to a layman, to a junior developer, aka a layman. Um, I actually remember there's a discussion about not saying layman because it implies something negative. Maybe I shouldn't. Whatever, I'll look into that later too. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Sounds interesting. Yes, I will attempt to do that. Yes, I will attempt to do that. Um, I have no idea how I'm going to. I'll probably communicate it to you during streams. I'm literally actually going to start, not right now. Shut up, phone. Leave me alone. um, I will. I don't know how. I don't know. Like organizations up in the air right now, but I will attempt to. Gosh, dang it, phone. Okay, right. So, you see me. I can't even grab my hair to pull it onto my head. Oh, okay. Because there's no hair. Aha. Because I cut my hair like that specifically to avoid hair pulling. I'm a software engineer. You pull your hair out all the time. Why is it outputting what I? Anyways, um, I will try to figure out how I can make this a panel discussion. Um, I don't even know if I will moderate it. I might get, I don't know, but I will try to make this a panel discussion at some point. By the way, hi Jason. I am sorry. I just read your art, your stuff because I was so engrossed in this idea. Um, Thank you, Jason, for popping back in. Um, but yeah, I will try to make this a panel discussion. Because I think this is important. Um, I hope that I can convince other people that this is important as well. Excuse me. So I think this is important. I think this is important enough to have a discussion on. So I will try to make this a panel discussion. I've repeated that at least 4 times. And I will communicate how that is going. Um, I don't know how I will do it. I guess we could do it. I want to do it in something that is recorded, if for nothing else, for it to be, for it to exist as for my own notes. Um, but this is definitely something that I would like to talk about. Let me talk about real quick before I go. Let me talk about the other things that I was thinking about writing an article on. I won't go into a lot of detail on it. And all of this is just stuff that I thought about, which I thought was going to be interesting, would be interesting as an article, and stuff that I have questions on. So something here is how to generate your own experience as a software engineer. I won't go into too much detail about it, but the big issue as a junior software engineer is how do you get experience, right? Like the catch 22 that people always talk about is I need experience to get a job, but how do I get experience? How do I get experience, right? I'm probably not describing that properly, but oh, hey, Alexandria. Uh, yeah, thanks so much. We were having a whole discussion about how do you measure your own impact. And in essence, articles that I want to read, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't think I have enough information to write a practical article. So I am going to try and organize a panel discussion about what is impact, defining what is impact, and the goal is define what impact is in terms of software engineering, and how would you explain that to 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 potentially a junior, but to anybody in the realm of software engineering. So right now I'm kind of finishing up that discussion, and then I am going to go into I'm going into other articles that I'm thinking about reading, but I'm not just going to go into a lot of detail. Unfortunately, this stream is kind of coming to an end in the next 5-10 minutes. Okay, interesting. This is going to be on Twitter. I don't know. So the big issue about Twitter Spaces, I was immediately thinking about Twitter Spaces, but the big thing about Twitter Spaces is I don't know necessarily how to record, and eventually I want it to actually become an article. I want to be able to say, oh, I want to get to something close enough of a definition where we can start from, and like I don't know how to record Twitter Spaces, so I might do it on the stream here, or I might do it on Twitter Spaces. I could literally do a stream that just records the Twitter space. I don't know. Like literally because I just came up with the idea all of 10 minutes ago. I have no idea. I just know that has to be recorded for posterity because I wanted to use the word posterity that much. But it has to be recorded. If nothing else, as to serve as my notes in case other people aren't actually interested, which I very much doubt. But um, it has to be able to be recorded. It has to be able to be preserved in some way, and so I need to figure that out. I am not aware of a way to record those. Also, hey, yeah, so the stream is slowly coming to an end. There's a few other things that I want to talk about before I end the stream. And this is one of them. That makes sense. I have to head out. If I have more information on how to record Twitter Spaces, I'll send it to you. Thank you very much. If push comes to shove, I have OBS. More than likely, the conversation will run through this computer somehow, and so I can save it through this computer somehow. Yeah. Oh, turns out the recordings are made available to the host. Awesome. Cool. So it can be a Twitter space. So it will be a Twitter space. I may stream the Twitter space because I'm going to obnoxiously self promote myself. I don't know. I don't know. We will have that discussion, but I think that this is an important thing to do, especially because we have so many new people coming in. We should arm them with all the information that they need to be successful, you know, especially because like access to mentorship and stuff like that can potentially be scarce and or even just luck based, and so we should be able to provide this information to more junior engineers, um, without them having to look into it. They can Google it, you know, and actually get this. Like all they have to do is hear that they are being judged by impact, and then they'll be like, "What is impact in terms of software engineering?" And then it will come up, and happy days. That is my vision for this. Um, I will look at that in a moment. Let me finish. Actually, let me look at that right now. You know what? Let me, because you only can see my silly face, so let me do that. Actually, it's not even that serious. Let me just look at it and just read it aloud like I've been doing. That's fine. Just want you to have the information. Thank you. Cool beans. Somebody sent me a message. Excuse me. Audio recordings. Audio recordings of spaces hosted in the past 30 days are now of. Oh, sweet beans. Oh, sweet beans. What the hell? Why did I just? Why did I just? That is a weird ass statement to make. Sweet beans. Are there sweet beans? You know what? Sweet beans. Sweet. Look, boy. Did I just call you boy? I'm sorry. I'm excited. I'm excited. Sweet beans. The embarrassment. I'm sorry. I'm gonna steal that shit. You have the memes, the meme stealer. I'm a jack this meme real fast and just run off. That is the sound effect from you running or you flying in Pokemon because I'm a nerd. Anyways, cool. Audio recordings. Listen via when was this? In June. All right, cool. So I will figure out how to do that. How do I do a Twitter clip? A Twitch clip. Uh, there's a Twitch clip button that you have to see. Anyways, sweet beans. It's the new thing. Sweet beans. Yes. You know. By the way, it's copyrighted by me, Chad Stewart. I have audio. I have video evidence. I want $1 every time somebody says it. Specifically a dollar, because I'm poor. U.S. dollar too, not a Jamaican dollar or a pesos or anything crazy like that. Needs to, yeah. Anyhow, all right. Let me talk about the last few articles here that I'm thinking of reading of writing. um, sorry. How to generate your own experience as a software engineer. Yeah. So there's the problem of I need experience to get a job, but I need a job to get experience. How do you solve that problem? I so just so I was in a thing. I was in a YouTube. Sorry, it was is a stream. Talking about projects, and they were talking about how software engineers are going to be kind of defined by their projects. I don't necessarily believe that. In the future, I don't necessarily believe that, but it kind of helps solve that catch 22, right? Sweet beans. All right, I'm gonna watch this in a minute. But it's going to what you call it. It helps solve that catch 22, right? Where you as a person can generate your own experience. And one of the things I defined as experience is in essence the thing that you can write in your resume under the phrase experience, because that's the problem that you're attempting to solve. How do you put experience in your resume without actually being able to be at a job um um to generate that experience, right? Want to write an article about that. There's people who've talked about it before. Funny enough, Aaron will be able to talk about it because what's his name? Taylor, from Twitter. He's a. Let me go make sure I say his name properly on stream. Talk about what? Um. Oh yeah. So I mean, you've mentioned this before. I don't remember the guy's name. Hyping you up over sweet beans. Uh, I don't remember the guy's name. TD. Ah, yes, Taylor. Taylor. I cannot pronounce his last name. Taylor Desmond. He mentions that one of the things that you can do for your resume is if you made projects, and you can talk about the projects, you can add it as experience. You don't have to. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a paid thing. You know and I kind of wanted to write an article expanding on that, and in essence, you use that to generate your experience. If you wrote code, that's experience. Yes, that's the ideal. So the way people think about experience is work experience. In fact, they think about it so much that they generally put work experience in their resume. If you remove work experience, if you remove the work part of work experience and leave experience, you do the same thing, but now you don't necessarily have to get paid for it. But you talk about your experience. So yeah, if you are working in a fucking gas station and you're writing code to automate something, you wrote code that's experience. Yes, Aaron actually has that, literally that story, not the gas station part, but he has a story of he was doing a job. You know what? Let me not put Aaron's business out there. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Let me not put your business out there. I'm sorry. But yes, however you generate the experience is experience. Put it out there. I'll put it in the chat. Cool, yeah. So Aaron was, I think you're working at a call center. Aaron was working at a call center, and he automated part of that job, and that eventually was his experience. I don't know I don't know how you ended up leveraging it in the sense of in your resume, but that's kind of the story, right? So anytime you are writing code in any capacity, it is experience. And if you can attach a date to it, if you can attach a time period to it, it is an experience that you can put on your resume. And that is an article that I want to write. Because I had that problem for a long time. I had a bunch of projects and a bunch of experience that I couldn't talk about because they weren't work experience officially. And then this one idea all of a sudden made a whole bunch of things that I did practical work experience, or stop, practical experience that you can represent on a resume, that which I think is something that is somewhat unique to software engineering. You can actually write code on your own, call it experience, and it is not technically wrong, and thus you can beat the catch 22. That's one thing. Is full stack engineering a good term or not? Just something I just wanted to think about. I'm probably not the authority to say that it's not a good term. For the most part, you will hear that people say full stack engineering is not a good term, because effectively the idea of full stack engineering is you are equally a front end and equally a back end, or equally all manner of things, to be quite frank, and that is not actually true. You're usually stronger in something and weaker in something, but you can do both. But the vision, especially for non-technical people, is that you're equally everything, and that is something that shouldn't be perpetuated, but is something I wanted to explore. And this is something also interesting. Crowdsourced mentorship, where the idea that instead of getting mentored by one person and you have a strong relationship with that person and you get mentored over a period of months, years, crowdsource mentorship. So mentorship where the it's just a person delivering a piece of information to you. In essence, what this stream is, right? Like, is in fact that's kind of the reason why I wrote it down. Crowdsource mentorship is in essence, there is somebody here who can provide a mentorship in a small way or a large way, in whatever way, um, and you are building yourself a network to allow multiple people to contribute to your growth. Crowdsource mentorship. I don't know if it actually is a term. That is the thing that popped in my head. In essence, mentorship and crowdsourcing. And those are articles that I kind of want to write. So now that we are at officially the end of the stream, we are at officially at the end of the stream. For future Chad who will make chapters on this on YouTube, we are at the officially at the end of the stream with the finger snap and everything. Um, Thank you everybody for watching this, for watching me babble about absolute madness. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for people who've tuned in on Twitch. Like, thank you everybody who popped into the chat. Really appreciate it. Special thanks to Aaron and Matt who continuously come in and give their opinion, and that helps grow the discussion and stuff of the chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We are the best mods. Don't play. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thankfully, we don't have bots coming in trying to be assholes, which would have been even funnier because then we would have had to have gotten it would have actually showed up on stream. But yes, thank you very much for everybody. I'd clown them and ban this mother. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Let me give a quick recap of what we did. We learned that mathematical definitions make people sad faced. So we went through the normal forms of database design. A lot of it is actually struggling with definitions. To be quite honest, we are going to go with that a little bit more. In essence, what I want to do is just to kind of write down the normal forms in my notes, like what I understand those definitions are, and then we will look back at the database design that we have for the To Do app. We will kind of expand it based on this information, and then right afterwards we will get into API design. So we will actually be writing more. We will be writing code, and we'll be messing around with that. Um, I, I, I'm hoping that that will be at least some point in the next stream. But yeah. So, excuse me. So that's what we did. The whole idea is learning backend engineering, starting with with the database, with the data layer, with the idea of how do you get information in and out of the data layer and manipulate information in the data layer. Will I open source the code? So it is a toy project, so I have no problem open sourcing the code. I was not thinking about that. Thank you for asking that question. Yes, I guess I'll open source the code. Like, I don't need it to belong to me in any capacity whatsoever. Um, I guess I can open source the code. I mean, I'm writing it in public, and well, I don't know. Yeah, I'll open source the code. I have no problem with open sourcing the code. I don't know if anybody will ever use it, but I have no problem open sourcing the code. Um, uh, I also plan to do tech is hiring. I also plan on open sourcing that as well, since that is also it's so hopefully something that will provide value. And I don't want it to be something that is owned solely by me. I want it to be owned by the world. I don't know how open sourcing works, but I want to. I want it to something anybody can work on. Because I don't need to be it to be attached to me. I need it to do its job. And so anybody who can make it effective. Make repo public, throw a license on it, open source. Ha 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 ha! Open source, that's how you do it. Ha ha. Yes, I will do that. Throw a license on, I will literally throw a license on it. I just need to get my throwing skills. Pa! License. Anyways, right. So what else do we need to talk about? Just more or less thanking everybody. Thanks everybody for watching. I have a YouTube channel which the VODs. Oh hey, Afdon. Hey, howdy howdy. Yes. Thank you for showing up. Unfortunately, this is the end of the stream. Uh, visit my portfolio. Um, right. So you don't have access to links. Send me a message on Twitter. I'll look at your portfolio there. Uh, my Twitter is Chad_R_Stewart. You can send me a message there. And I'll take a look at your portfolio. I can't pretend that I can't pretend that I will give you a good. I can't pretend that I'll give you the most best look at portfolio, but huzzah. Um, right. So yes, I have a YouTube channel, ChadRStewart, where probably the panel discussion will end up going. Sweet beats. Oh God, that's the new joke, right? Sweet beans. I'm gonna have to say that like in public and just make everybody be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Sweet beans, man. Good. Gorsh. Now I have to come up with a bunch of phrases. All right, anyways, God, no, I'm. You see, now that will make a good emote. Sweet beans. Anyhow, yeah, have a YouTube channel, Chad R Stewart, same as the Twitch channel. If we ever met in real life and you say that, I'm gonna have to walk away and keep laughing directly. Damn, Aaron is a asshole. What a joke. Anyhow, YouTube channel, go there, subscribe. You will definitely see the panel discussion there at some point. At some point in the. Anyways, yes, subscribe. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for participating in the chat. Thank you everybody who laughed at the phrase "sweet beans." Thank you. Smash that subscribe button. Don't smash it. We need it for tomorrow. Press it, please, gently. Don't smash it. I don't have a. Oh, right. For the YouTube, don't. Yeah, don't smash the subscribe button. It cost me a lot of money to get that subscribe button. Press it, with the adequate required force to get it to click. Look, man, I'm poor. I'm poor. I can't afford to be replacing subscribe buttons. What the hell's wrong with you people? All right, I'm gonna go turn off the. I'm gonna go press the stop streaming button now. Subscribe buttons are not cheap in Jamaica. Sorry, no, they're not. We have to import subscribe buttons, man. 50% duty. Do you know how expensive subscribe buttons are? I ain't trying to replace subscribe buttons every day, god damn it. Thanks everybody for watching. You have a good day.